What's happening, YouTube? My name's Immortal Coil, and I am joined by the fourth wave Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Here to talk to you today about the bullshit in pop culture. Joining me is FinalDeathStar. Sound out, brother.
Hey, guys.
That's my fault. Sorry.
Hey, guys. What's up, everyone? Good to be back on the fourth wave here. Immortal, thanks for hosting this week's show.
Sorry about that, Final.
We're a professional. See what happens when Steven doesn't show up. We just show it as a crapper. It's no right down the toilet. we are sans our leader of the group. He is I guess away doing some manly business right now.
He's at home washing.
But don't fear, the co-host is here.
But we've got
directly below me. We got Sporking News Podcast, who forgot how to use all his shit. What do you have to say, Sport?
Hello, I am Sporking News Podcast. I'm currently in a place not my home, so everything's a little messed up. I apologize. I always start the damn thing. I try to watch us while we're doing it because I have a shallow sense of self-worth. Please watch my videos. All right, that's all I got.
And then
Scotty,
our fucking
so we can chat.
Our fucking graphics expert, Mr. Bear, Nerd Fun. How you doing, sir?
Hail to the fourth wave and hail to the Fandom Menace. How's everyone doing out there in video and chat land? And you'll see behind me there's some fancy artwork and the thumbnail tonight. You'll see that here in a moment. So how's everyone doing? Hail Tyler Manga. Yes, I am Ghost Bear today as well. Mm-hmm. I'm ghosting.
Mm-hmm. Tyler, you sexy beast.
We got this Ruin the Man Baby admitting the stuff. Wow. Mm-hmm. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought he didn't care about Star Wars canon? Who would have ever known that? Wow. Yeah, I think we really knew that. It's just we didn't have the words from his mouth to validate it. So
until now.
Until now. Yeah.
The Phantom Menace always knew. I mean, they've been saying that since the first wave of the Phantom Menace guys, that he didn't care. He was doing a movie. He was only worried about his movie, the vision he wanted. And we finally got confirmation. And I mean, it doesn't even feel like a win because we all knew we were right. And people are still defending him. It's unbelievable.
What's crazy too is that he spent so much time attacking fans and trying to prove like, oh, look, I got this from this, and I got this from this source, all these like outside media sources, trying to prove that he was a fan of Star Wars and that he cared about what he was doing. And then he comes out and admits, like, I don't care about world building. I don't care about the history. It's unbelievable that he's admitted this. I don't think when he said this, I don't think he was really thinking it through.
See, I disagree. I think I almost think he didn't mean it. I think this is his, I don't care. Oh, you have the nice, I don't care. I never wanted that car. You know what I mean? Like a spoiled little brat who didn't get his way and he lost.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I never cared. Forget that. It hurts him.
In like total denial that he spent so much time trying to prove to people that,
The dude trolled us so hard.
For like years.
I mean, pictures like your theory meant nothing and all that shit. He tried for years, and then when he realized he lost, he pulled the biggest baby move in the world. Like, I don't care.
No, I don't care about that. That's not important to me. World building, I don't care. Who cares about that?
He was so completely smug in his interview. He was just kind of like, yeah, all I ever wanted to do was make Clue the movie. What's this little Star Wars thing that you?
Yeah, he's an idiot. I mean, the guy had an opportunity to be. He has talent. Okay, no one can take that from him. He has talent, but not to respect the source material shows that your arrogance outweighs all of your talent.
Didn't he also say? I'm commenting on CJ here. What's up, CJ? Didn't he also say something about he was not a fan of Empire Strikes Back or he had criticized it harshly? I remember him saying something about that too. not enjoying Empire Strikes Back, which, you know, whatever, fine.
No, what he said was when Empire came out, no, it was being treated the same way The Last Jedi was. Like,
that's right.
There was people didn't like it.
Yeah, that's right.
There was no one. I mean, there was barely any top experts, any top, like Siskel and Ebert, newspapers. No one panned it. You know, where did he get that information? That's what I don't understand.
Right.
He was trying to collate the impact that episode 4 had on fucking everything to, okay, we saw that. Now how's the next one going to go? And I experienced similar feelings with The Matrix, which completely fucked my ear hole and my mind hole.
Right.
But, Matrix, what was it?
It's really a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Your mind hole, your ear hole, and it fucked everything, right?
Everything. So you have this monumental shift in the direction of storytelling and effects and just the way shit is. And then suddenly you're looking at the sequel and you're like, okay, that's the second meal. I
get what you're saying. What I think, though, what he meant was, what he was trying to say is in the time that movie came out, Empire Strikes Back, till today, it has grown in popularity because people understood it better. What he's trying to say is his film was very smart and that we just don't get it yet, but in time, it'll be appreciated as the best film. Like, he's that arrogant. That's how arrogant he is. To lie.
Casino Planet, that's going to be a thing in like 20 years.
Can't Tell Bite will return. It'll have its day.
It'll bite twice.
How do you have that kind of arrogance where you know, or you're saying your movie it will be so popular and it'll come to be respected by, audiences worldwide, when you admittedly don't care about world building, which means you didn't care about trying to fit it in to not only the sequel trilogy, but like the entire saga as a whole, because you can't care about trying to fit that in. If you don't care about world building, then you have no sense of where characters are supposed to be structured within what we have for 40 years. And it's clear that we saw that. But how can you say that's going to be admired in the future? If anything, I think it's going to be looked upon as even worse than it already is now. Maybe people who had been defending it will start coming around and saying, look, this really did tear apart this franchise,
Yeah,
CJ makes a point. He remembers Ruin the Man Baby hating it, apparently.
What? Empire Strikes Back?
Yes. CJ remembers
I thought he had said something like that too. I do remember.
Was Ryan Johnson even alive when Empire came out?
Yeah, he was.
He's about my age, isn't he?
He's mid-40s. Yeah, he's about your age.
Yeah, he wasn't old enough really to remember it.
Okay.
What the problem
in the
with
mid-40s, I'd say.
What the problem with this movie is, it didn't work as a standalone. It wasn't that good. I personally didn't think the story, if you're going to take it as its own standalone movie, from where it started to where it ended, I didn't think it was a good movie by itself. Even if I didn't know who Luke Skywalker was and Rey was the very first Jedi I ever saw, I just didn't like the story. It didn't have a great, the finish was okay. So he projected himself across the galaxy and then died. That's a great story. Yay. And she could do anything. She's amazing. But then also in the context of a saga, it's a standalone movie. It doesn't fit the saga.
Yeah.
So no matter which way you look at it, I feel like he didn't do it justice in either way. You know what I mean? Any of the other movies, pretty much, at least the OT, the original trilogy, could be a standalone movie. They give you enough information that you can catch up wherever you are. A New Hope was really the fourth movie, but we understood there was a whole series before because of just a couple sentences, Obi-Wan tells you. And then in Return of the Jedi, you kind of understood, if you never saw the other two, what was happening already. He didn't give you enough. I feel like this saga itself, the last trilogy, didn't give you enough information about any of the new people. We knew nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, that's and it didn't. Well, he didn't add on to anything that JJ started out with too, because we never found out about Snoke. Now we still are. Now we're starting to, and well, I mean, we found out in
JJ
through articles and through audiobooks. And
there's comics now describing like how he started to seduce Kylo, but we still don't know what Palpatine's plan was with creating Snoke. Why not just use himself if he's
they're both clones,
right?
You read that, right? That
What?
Palpatine's a clone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I know. I think
read
we're
that
gonna
too.
get into that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't that in a book?
Well, that was in the
Different.
Dark Horse comics.
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
was
originally, but they're saying now that he was actually a clone, and did they put that in a book? I thought I heard one of the new woke authors.
There's a novel. Yeah. There's
And
a
it's
novel
the same thing where they discontinue the Legends material, but they rape it.
Yeah, they
bastardize it.
They take everything that they want to take out. That it was not that popular when it came out. The fact that Dark Horse series where Palpatine was cloned, it was controversial back then because a lot of people thought they should have just let him die. So it was still controversial. But now they're using it to, they're taking parts of the EU and implanting them in different ways. I mean, we've seen Thrawn in Rebels where he's not really
right. He's not really Thrawn.
He's kind of a watered down version who's sort of a fall guy, kind of a spoofy version of Thrawn. I mean, they tried to make him cool. The voice actor did a really good job, but every episode he was like the weekly, I'll get you next time, you rebels kind of thing, where it wasn't believable. It wasn't the
and he gets to go live on a whale with fucking Ezra.
Yeah. He got sent to the unknown. Here's what they should have done. The sequel trilogy should have been forget Palpatine. They should have been rearranged in a lot of ways, but they should have had Thrawn out there in the unknown regions as the villain because they already set it up with Rebels that he was out there.
Right.
So they could have had him on Exegol. Yeah, they could have had him building a private army, a secret army of Imperial remnants on Exegol because we know he was out there and he could have come back. It would have been 30 years between the.
It would have been about the right amount of time.
But
right?
Yeah, about the right time. 30 to 40 years. He would have had time to build an army out there in the unknown regions. You wouldn't have needed the Emperor to come back because you would have had Thrawn out there. He could have been like an Imperial, just like the Werner Herzog character in The Mandalorian. The little friends made this point. He was like, that would have been a great character to use in the sequel trilogy. If you'd had Thrawn be out there in Exegol with that same kind of just an Imperial loyalist, just kind of the way that Werner Herzog's character in The Mandalorian explained the Empire and what he thought it stood for, without
They believed it.
Yeah, it's like you believed it. You felt like, okay, it's wrong point of view, but like I get this guy, right? Yeah. So if you had Thrawn with that kind of conviction, he would have been a great villain. It would have been the heir to the Empire still because the timing would have been off. So, it wouldn't have been 5 years after Jedi. You still would have had Ben Solo or Rey, but you could have reworked them so they were more like the Jedi twins of the EU. Yeah, I think you could have had something a lot better than what we got, which wouldn't have been hard.
I never read the Thrawn trilogy, but what I do know is like
Finger
oh
of
my God,
Scorn.
naming Tarkin.
What's that? Tarkin?
From the
Grand
original. Grand Admiral Tarkin.
Yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin.
I don't know why I'm like, ugh. So if
Grand
they
Moff
created
Tarkin.
like a mix of the two, because I don't know if Thrawn was like him, but in like the books, he had such a Vader never like just destroyed him because he had such a quick mind and he can see things happening before he didn't use the Force. He just mathematically can
He was
figure
that
out.
smart.
Yeah, he was a
just that smart.
strategist.
They could have like totally took, that like direction using Thrawn's like mathematical and science ability versus the Force. You know what I mean? Like something completely different, not Force against Force and old religion against old religion, but something new, something technical that brings, could bring destruction to the Jedi. I thought that would have been a cool way to go about it. Or, I don't know, George's outlines. We could have done that too.
Yeah, or George's outlines.
Yeah.
Right. That would have been the best thing to do.
Hey,
maybe.
Go with his outlines.
CJ here makes a pretty good point. They contradicted their own canon in the novel, and he's a clone, but in the visual dictionary, those weird Sith-robed people recovered his body and brought him back to life.
Right.
Oh,
That's a really good point.
Okay, I didn't see that. I know they did recover his body, and they used parts of his body to clone him. And now that the body's deteriorating so fast, I guess he needs to find a new host because he can't create more clones. And because of his powers, he's going through his clones so fast. That's the excuse that he looks so messed up.
So that's why he's aged so rapidly. They
Yeah,
couldn't find like a clone they couldn't clone him to a young version of himself.
I don't know, man. It was dumb.
Did the DNA work different in the Star Wars universe?
Well, the Dark Horse one, you're right. It was Dark Horse, I'm pretty sure, where he was cloning himself into young, powerful.
It was young versions.
But he tried to get like Luke. He tried to get Luke to like accept him. Yeah, that was pretty dope.
Yeah. Mm. So they can't clone a younger version of him because his body that recovered was damaged? Is that what the
No. Okay. I don't know about the young version. The reason why he had to find a host, from what I've gathered, is because they're losing his actual dead body and they can't use that.
Are we talking about the Dark Horse, or this is in the new novel?
The new one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how I heard it correctly. They did recover his body, but it was so damaged that when they cloned from him, they couldn't clone enough. I guess they couldn't get have like an unended supply of it. Now he could create Snoke, and Snoke it looked like that one body did pretty damn good.
Right.
So
what's your opinion? If you're thrown down a moon-sized battle station's reactor core, and I'm talking to you, FinalDeathStar, what chances do you have of surviving?
Well, we saw his body turn into a blue matter, force energy. I don't know what exactly it was, but yeah, we saw it like explode or disintegrate. So I don't know how they would have captured
atomized
body. What?
That shit was atomized, man.
Yeah, it was like it turned into like atoms. It was molecular material. That was it.
It was.
So I don't know how
basically a kyber crystal reactor, man. Just think when a lightsaber explodes, it gets freaking atomized if something goes wrong.
And I think it would have probably disintegrated any clothing or wardrobe, robes or anything he had as well, because I didn't see, you just see it explode in a blue mist. So that's kind of unbelievable that they had anything. They found anything from that.
So what are they doing? Are they going to the throne room with like little brushes and like little vials, and they're
scooping up whatever little dust?
They went to one of his old bathrooms and found a pube. Okay.
Well, also, on top of him exploding into molecular material, the Death Star also got blown to smithereens. But now, as we've seen,
and he's in outer space. He had to go through the atmosphere and re-entry and make it through that. There would not be a molecule left. I just want to say, hail, Twisted Mind Collision. Hail. He is a darn good supporter of us. No worries being late, man. Just happy to have you here.
Good evening.
Yeah, we know there's some bigger channels going right now. So anytime you guys stop in at ours, we appreciate it.
Yeah. We love you.
We also want to say hail to TT.
I didn't even see him.
Yeah.
How old is the Emperor in the Fall of Skywalker? He was not young in episode 1. No, he wasn't. He would have been over 100 years old in this, because episode 1, 40, 50, 60, about 60 years in the time span, I think, has gone by.
Right, and he wasn't that young.
So someone tried 130 probably.
Could he have been even older than that?
Well, he's supposed to be human, so he's supposed to be, now I don't know if the dark side. Here's the other question: what did he really look like? Was he using a mask? And was his
in the prequels before his?
No. How did he really look? Because that could also depend on his age. If he was really normal looking, like Ian McDiarmid looking, and then became the Emperor because of the Force lightning with Mace Windu and all that, then I think he was probably 130 or 140 in the Rise of Skywalker. If he was damaged and used that look, the normal human look, as a mask, like some kind of Sith magic, then it could have been, who knows how old he could have been. He could have been much older than we know. I don't think they've really established it, because we don't really know his backstory. We also don't really know who his master was. Was it Plagueis or not? He tells the story to Anakin.
Yes.
But we don't know. Was that just a story? They haven't really confirmed any of that.
Right, because didn't we see in the not used script for this last movie,
Trevorrow, Duel of Fates.
Trevorrow used a different master.
Trevorrow had like some kind of like spider-like creature that he was going to use. Yeah, like a Yoda sort of figure in a swamp. I think it was on Korriban, which is like the whole world of Sith. I think that's where it was supposed to take place. But so it's hard to say. We don't really know how old Palpatine was. My instinct is that, or my opinion, I guess, is that he was human, normal looking, because we know he was an ambassador or something on Naboo for a long time. So, I mean, he would have aged, I mean, he would have had to have this facade aging with him, I think he was probably human, and the backlash of that Force lightning with the clash with Mace Windu kind of damaged him and made the dark side come out. That's my opinion, but
I do think he's human, but I think he also probably using dark magic kept himself alive a little bit longer than.
Oh yeah.
Sure. He may not be, that Sheev might just be a cover story. You know what I mean? Like he could have been much older than that. So TT says, and it's a good point, man. So from a sample of DNA from Jango Fett in episode 1, we have generations of soldiers created, but in episode 7 through 9, they can't even create a new clone.
Well, here's the other thing that's a good point, TT. I think they should have, if they were going to do the clone thing, which look, I think it's pretty clear this was not part of the plan. This whole clone Palpatine. I know Ian McDermott had come up with a statement, and we have an article here about that he had said in a first draft of the script, it was said that he was a clone, but it was never used in the movie. Whether that's true or not, even if that was true, this was not part of the plan from the beginning from
7, right?
Yeah, from episode 7 in 2015. They didn't have Palpatine coming back as a clone.
No, it was Snoke.
They should have used Kamino. If they were going to have him cloned at all, they should have brought Kamino into it, which they didn't. Because Kamino they were experts at cloning. So I think that's why you could have a little bit of matter in episode 1 from Jango Fett, because they used Kamino. They used these people that were masters of cloning. And however he was cloned with his,
these acolytes or whatever they are.
Yeah, however that was. These guys were obviously not well versed in cloning. But I mean, it's so stupid anyway. So.
Look, thank you, Gilk, man. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, what's up, Thomas?
Thomas needs 9, I think 8 more subs to reach 400 or 300. So hook that man up if you have.
I think he's probably close to 400.
400, yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
But support this guy. He supports all of us.
Yeah, please. Absolutely.
Yeah, support him and sub his channel. Let's get him to his goal.
Yeah, hell yeah. So yeah, it just look. I don't care how powerful of a Sith Lord you are. You can't fall down the shaft and blow up, then the whole freaking Death Star blow up, then survive in space, then survive re-entry, land on a planet, and get found, brought to Exegol, then No, I'm sorry. You can't Mary Poppins. I'm sorry, Leia Poppins the hell out of this. That's unbelievable to me. Like, you're trying to tell me a molecule made it of organic material. I'm not like the most... put it this way. I am not a Star Trekky guy. Like, I believe in the fantasy. I don't need the science, but come on. That's incredibly crazy for me to believe.
Plus, they would have had to somehow get this clone material all the way to Exegol.
Right.
Without, how did,
Did they bring that tank with them?
With the Wayfinder. If the Emperor was the only one who knew how to get there, and all the people that were there were there from way back when, right? I guess that's what we're supposed to believe. He had this like as a plan B way back, right? So how the heck did the acolytes find their way to Exegol to clone him? Because it took Kylo Ren to find the Sith, all this Wayfinder crap. Apparently that wasn't needed because the Emperor the space magic,
space magic, man.
How did they find Exegol in the first place to clone him? Oh, you're Mordo. You're muted.
No, you're right. Okay. Every time I go to the bathroom, I want you to wipe the seat and save whatever's not fit.
Yeah, right. Ooh, that's a good piece of skin. I'm keeping that one.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that one. I'm keeping it. Yeah, it's unnatural. It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Like, if the Death Star, if the Sith and the dark side of the Force can make you survive, but yet they're not even saying he survived it. So somehow he was dead, and his body survived it. An organic body survived all of that. They're out. It's space magic. It's space
but
magic.
also the Sith inhabit. They can't, as a Force ghost, right? I mean, this is according to the EU. I don't know. Who knows anymore? But they can't inhabit. They can't be a Force ghost.
Yeah, but they can possess things.
Right. But they can only possess objects.
Yes, they should have done that.
Are they saying that his body is an object? You know, it's supposed to
he possessed his own body.
yeah. I mean,
he's alive. You know, like that makes no sense.
Doesn't make any sense. If he'd been cloned before he died, like way back, it makes more sense that he would have cloned himself during the Clone Wars, you know, using Kamino. I mean, that makes sense. They should have just said that. Well, he had cloned himself in Kamino. You know, he had different versions. I would have been like, all right, at least that goes with the trilogy. It goes with the whole saga. It fits what would have made sense. Like his character, you know, Palpatine would have cloned himself on Kamino during the Clone Wars. That is logical. But they didn't.
His biggest fear was death.
Right.
And he's the one, you know, who commanded the troopers to be made. So, well, didn't start it, but he finished it.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that's a perfect, you know, final. He wouldn't have had his own backup, so he wouldn't have to fear death.
Right.
He had Voldemort.
Yeah.
Wasn't it true of all the Sith Lords, and that's why they created their Sith holocrons, because what they could preserve of the knowledge was at best an interactive avatar. So they can spit everything they know into this little thing that pops and goes, "Are you of the dark side?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm Darth." Bullshit. Yeah. And he's like, "Okay, what do you want to know?" And he's like, "Well, how do we live forever?" And he's like, "You can't."
Pretty much. Much.
There's no way.
Ask J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. But then they changed J.J. changed the whole thing where, you know, okay, so one of the biggest reasons not to become a dark side user is because you can't live on afterwards. You can't be a Force ghost.
Right.
Okay? And we know since Liam Neeson.
Qui-Gon.
I always screw up. I am horrible with names. Qui-Gon from Qui-Gon's, you know, was the first to come back like as a voice, you know, unless he was on certain planets where the Force was strong. And then Yoda learned. And then he just, that passed down. Yeah. But then they freaking flip it because the dark side was always scared of death. Now they all live in the next Emperor. So he doesn't die. So none of them died. So what's the point of being a light side user when you're dark side and you can kill and fuck and drink and have a good time?
Yeah.
You're going to live on for 1,000 years, you know, like thousands of generations. It's the dumbest thing. Like, oh, strike me down so I can live on in you. Well, then what was the whole point of the first trilogy? You know, you were fearing death. Like death was what, like for all that the dark side gave you, it could not give you eternal life. And they just screwed that too.
To cheat death is the ultimate blah, 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 blah in the opera fucking house.
Right. The whole thing with Darth Plagueis, was that just a story or was that true? We don't really know. Because he said
how they're
he had the power to save people from dying and all that stuff. But, you know, he couldn't save himself. But was it just a story?
Well, now, I mean, you're right. Because, I mean, he was lying about the live forever. He just wanted to corrupt Anakin. But was the story, like even it was any part of that story true? I always took it, Plagueis was trying to do that, maybe found it, but he killed him. You know what I mean?
That was what I thought George was trying to imply, that Plagueis was his master. You know, I mean, look at Ian McDiarmid when he gives that speech, when he gives that performance. He even says, ironic, he could save other people, but he couldn't save himself.
And he was arrogant about it.
He was like prideful, like I outwitted him, I killed him, I struck him down. I outdid my master. Like that's what you're getting when you see Ian McDiarmid say that. You're thinking that's what's going on in his mind. Yep. And now they haven't confirmed that, and they seem to, whether with Trevorrow's script it was going to be totally different. So, why was that so? Why would he say it like that? Why was it so? He's so kind of like smug when he said that.
Because it was what it was supposed to be.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And to say though, but just to the whole thing George was going for was if you followed the Jedi code, if you meditated, if you were true to the Force, you could obtain, virtually to live forever in a different form. And the dark side did not have that. It corrupted you. It destroyed you. But in the last movie, all they said was, yeah, we live on within you. If you're a Sith Lord, you'll always be a Sith Lord. Don't worry about it. Just kill me.
Just kill me out and have it you.
Why be good?
And why would it end with Rise of Skywalker? Did they not clone him again? Could they not use the clone of the clone?
The clone of the clone.
No, I mean, why did they clone him again?
Right. So
them?
I wonder, gentlemen, of all the people aside from George Lucas and possibly Lawrence Kasdan, who might know the Emperor better than Ian McDiarmid? What do you think? What do you think he has to say? And if somebody can bring up that article,
we can
share it.
We can find that out.
Yeah,
we can see what he has to say.
Angela Straven said in the EU, Joris I can't even read names, was a clone and it drove him mad.
Sabaoth.
Joris Sabaoth,
yeah,
he was a clone. He was a clone of Master Sabaoth, and he went crazy because of it. He didn't know he was a clone.
Script Doctor, what?
I think it's Sabaoth, but Sabaoth.
AO with the TH, I think it's Sabaoth.
Sabaoth. And Script Doctor is in the chat.
Hail Script Doctor.
Hail Script
Doctor. I haven't streamed with him yet. Every time he's been on, I've been I was either working or sick. Yeah, no, we haven't streamed together yet.
Check the council stream if you want on, Script.
Yeah, we got room for you, brother.
Eating and listening to a great discussion. Okay, well, if you want on, jump in because I'd like to stream with you. I haven't gotten a chance yet. Okay, do you want to share or are you? Oh, you're already sharing.
It's already there.
So
give us your buttery
voice. Palpatine. This is the my sick congested voice. This is the Palpatine actor responds to the clone reveal. Okay, see, look at this. Come on, look at that. That's the best you could do. You cloned him, and you got that.
Yeah,
that is the face of somebody who doesn't know what to do with the lines he is given. He's like,
he's just a guy who loved playing that role, realizing this one sucks.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so let's get into this here. Okay, do you want me to read this, or do you guys want to read it? I can read it. I'm just
why don't you read it?
I could do it, or Bear can, but somebody needs to scroll if you're not going to do it.
I'll do. That's fine. I'll do it. Okay, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker might have hit theaters back in December, but the conversations surrounding the blockbuster's contents haven't slowed down. J.J. Abrams' blockbuster has been dissected and discussed ad nauseum, and new information is constantly arriving. The Rise of Skywalker's novelization is arriving shortly, and advanced copies revealed that Palpatine was actually a clone in Episode 9. And now actor Ian McDiarmid has responded to this surprising plot twist. J.J. Abrams had to include a ton of content and stories throughout Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker's runtime, and as such, plenty of scenes and shots were left on the cutting room floor. That includes the line acknowledging that Palpatine was a clone, which was later revealed in the movie's novel, like so much other information.
Everything's in the novel or the comic or something.
Novel or a comic or this or that.
Which is one of the underlying problems, which we should address right now.
If you're writing, rushing the story,
and you can't explain what's going on without ancillary works, guess what? You give us crap as a product.
Right. It's not a complete movie. What as a movie goer, I want to know that the movie is going to explain everything I need to know, bring me on a journey, and finish with some type of satisfaction, either a happy, sad, angry. I don't care what it is, but you need your opening, middle, and end. And what they do in this movie is just give you a lot of, at least in Rise of Skywalker, a lot of content with nothing to help you understand what's going on, where everything has to be perfect or it wouldn't, like that scene, the scene in the desert, they had to end up in the desert. Luckily they met,
is this before or after Rey pets a snake?
No, this is before the snake. They had to be attacked by they fly.
Oh yeah, they
had
fly
to be
now.
hit.
They fly now. They
They
fly
had to be hit at the perfect
That's so
time.
stupid.
With the,
Well, they had to be hit.
ejaculated stormtroopers. Yeah.
Right. And they had to be destroyed. Their boat had to be destroyed at the perfect time to launch them perfectly in the quicksand. Because if they didn't hit the quicksand, they would never have found the snake, and the snake never would have got healed by Rey, and then the snake wouldn't have left, and they wouldn't have found the dagger. Like everything had to happen perfectly. Like, wait a minute, what? Yeah. And things just didn't make sense.
I mean, the dagger itself, the dagger happened to be like, you had to line it up with the remnants of the Death Star. So how did
shit? Yeah.
Thing? But when was this dagger created? It's an ancient artifact, right?
Thousands.
So how did they know that the Death Star, a certain piece of it, was going to land just like that, and not just like had a force vision of it landing? They knew the exact measurements and precise calculations to
precise spot they were going to stand.
Yeah,
because if they stood anywhere else,
and it's just not even explainable. How can you explain that?
I can. I can. Space magic.
Space magic. Space magic. Because.
No. That's space magic Band-Aid.
There you go, Angela Straven. You answered it perfectly.
Yeah, there it is. Space magic. That's it. They use space magic to know all that stuff was going to happen perfectly.
That's it. And if you try to go beyond space magic, they just call you a troll and an ist and an ism and can't you? It's just a movie.
Or right, exactly.
Stephen Walton.
Hey, there he is.
Hail, Stephen Walton.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, sir?
Oh my God, we're all together at the same time.
It's a miracle.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a while since the five of us have all been on.
I know. This is a first.
Huh?
I know.
Wow.
It's a rarity. Yeah. It's a rare treat, YouTube. Hail, Stephen Walton. How you been, sir?
Good, Mortal. How you doing, brother? It's good to see you.
Just hanging and dangling, man. We're discussing this clone thing. Ian McDermott apparently has an opinion about himself being portrayed as a clone.
Oh, well, is it the right opinion or is it the wrong opinion?
Oh, let's find. Here it is. Here, let's get to this quote so we can discuss it. So this is what he says, right? Ian McDermott recently spoke about him finding out he was a clone. He says, the cloning thing? Yes. Well, of course, there were all sorts of explanations for why I might return, but it's interesting because at one point in the script had a line in that first scene with Adam who, when he says, "You're a clone," and I said that in the original script, which is no longer with us, more than a clone, less than a man, which seemed to sum it up, really.
More than a clone, less than a man.
Yeah, more than a clone, less.
Look, okay, let me ask you this. If he was a clone, why was he all effed up? What was that about?
It was a bad copy. It was a bad reboot. It was a bad reboot.
Pretty much. So I don't know if you know the story of Return of the Jedi. After Darth Vader threw him down a shaft, it exploded with blue light. Then the Death Star exploded in space with red lights. He must have floated through space, entered into Endor or the moon of, I don't exactly know where, got through re-entry, burning up at thousands and thousands of degrees Fahrenheit, landed somewhere. Somehow the acolytes found him, whoever pointed that out knew how to get to Exegol, even though no one knew how to get to Exegol but him and Darth Vader, but whatever. Put him in a Banta tank. God, I say everything wrong. I am such a freaking poser. Bantha tank.
But then he's like, wait a sec, let's make these. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and created him, but because of that, the organic material they found wasn't enough. It started going bad. So you tell me how organic material from a dead man could make it through all that. I'm just shocked they were able to make a clone.
I have a theory on this, actually. I have a okay, because considering all the different canons we have now for Star Wars, I think that because
it involves space magic.
It involves robot chicken. I think that when Palpatine smashed onto the windshield of the Millennium Falcon, And then Lando was like, "You got a manscape." I think his pubes got caught in the windshield of the Millennium Falcon, and that is what they
enough follicular.
Hey, Steven, I already said something similar. It was one of his pubes they cloned him with.
Yeah.
So two yeses. I guess that must be right then.
Yeah.
Two guys come up with the same thing and didn't even talk about it. And
no, we didn't even talk about that.
Then that's less than what's necessary to create a movie script.
That was episode Pubertine.
Pubertine. Emperor Pubertine. That's about as good of a reason as any were given. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense that that somehow the acolytes found him after being disintegrated, and the Death Star blows up and disintegrates, and then they find a way to get the Exegol, only to clone him, and he's all decrepit and aged and dying. Like, they couldn't even get a good young clone out of it.
Well, they couldn't clone Snoke, right? If you remember, Palpatine might not have given a fuck, but he grew a field of Snokes.
Right.
And they couldn't even get Snoke right.
Well, no, I think Snoke was I think Snoke was cloned. He was different though, because I think the reason he was all messed up was purposeful. I think that was to seduce Ben. I think that was different. But why not? But you bring a good point up, because if you can clone Snoke, why not clone a version of Snoke and just inhabit him?
That's what I said before.
He was at least better than
this already. So again, we're all thinking on the same token. He was so powerful.
Let's take a quick moment. Hail, Doctor.
Hey, what's up, Script Doctor?
Continue.
Hello, Final Death Star. Nice to
no, what I was saying is
you too.
Yeah. Hi, Script Doctor. How are you?
Script Doctor,
beautiful man.
Script Doctor, do you think Palpatine was created from a clone of a pube?
That version, perhaps, yeah.
Okay, absolutely. That's the theory right now. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, go on. Okay, Script Doctor, you're either muted or you're in trouble. Blink twice if you need to. Oh, you don't have eyes. What I was saying was this. You have Snoke, who, to me, showed more forceability than the Emperor ever did in the trilogy, original trilogy. Like, he was powerful, man. He was powerful. Why not just inhabit that body, use the persona of Snoke, and then come reveal in the third movie that you're actually the Emperor cloned, whatever.
I think he was so powerful he impregnated himself.
That's hot.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Rey's parents, or one of Rey's parents, was an ass baby. That's what I'm.
Well, this is what I was going to say, urethra baby. All right, but now explain this.
Oh, that would be painful. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. It's the dark side, man. What
it's like, something going in the hole, then exploding. Ow.
Yeah, I'm talking like the biggest kidney stone you've. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just jizzing dark side.
Yes. Now, tell me this: what in the original trilogy, in the prequels, I learned that the Jedi believed in the light side of the Force, meditation, peace, balance. And because of that, they were blessed, some of them, with life pretty much being, forever immortal. Exactly. Thank you, Mortal. And the dark side was of the allure because you had power right there, right then. Infinite power. But when you died, you were dead.
Well,
but in this last movie, he pretty much says, strike me down so I can live on forever. So I'd be evil.
Yeah,
and that's a big plot hole in itself. He's like, strike me down so I can
get inside my granddaughter.
Right, because they're not supposed to be able to possess anything other than inanimate objects.
But
so
what
I don't
happens?
know how he's supposed to possess, Rey. I don't know how. Like, it's not the Highlander. You don't take the quickening and then just.
That's what they're saying.
Exactly, it's basically the Highlander. Yeah, they're
saying thousands. I mean. One of the last things is said is, I have the 1,000 generations of Sith. And she's like, I have 1,000 generations of Jedi.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me
like
is...
neener.
They're both schizophrenic.
They have multiple personalities.
A lot of personalities.
It reminds me of an argument that I was having with my cousins when I was like 5.
Does Script Doctor know he's He's muted.
Am I muted?
Oh, here you are. We've been talking to you. You just
hasn't been able to get a word in edgewise, Scott.
Well, we did say hello. Shut up. Introduce yourself, Script Doctor.
Hey, everybody. I'm the Script Doctor. Welcome to the Fourth Wave Show. It's a great conversation. And yes, the whole Emperor being a clone thing. What a boring and lazy way to bring him back.
I mean,
the Emperor
he
wears no clothes.
He should not have been brought back at all. You didn't need him in the first place. It was never. Would you agree? It was never part of the plan in 2015 or 14 when they were writing.
No.
You know, they were writing the sequel trilogy.
There's no way.
I don't think JJ expected.
Yeah,
no, that's why. Yeah, put it this way. Wouldn't you, Script Doctor? Wouldn't you say that he left Snoke so ambiguous and covered and not seen in the first movie, so that in the second he would be revealed to be the big bad? Like we had to wonder what he was. You know what I mean? Like that's what he was building up. Yes, there you go. Best way of putting it.
Yep. Hashtag Script Doctor So White. Yeah, I mean, JJ is quite good at and adept at doing setups, but he never thinks beyond that, so you never get a satisfying payoff.
And he's terrible at finishing shit.
Yes, the only thing he can finish resulted in his child, so like that's it.
Ooh.
And if you've seen his wife, you can understand how, because she's quite attractive.
And he finished it all over her.
You have been hanging out with the Fourth Wave too much.
You did sound a little dirty.
Jokes.
We will corrupt you.
You are more than welcome to corrupt me. However, say you were presented with a problem where you wanted to bring the Emperor back, but you did not want to impede on Anakin's journey that was established out of those 6 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, take the Force Ghost approach and sort of invert it. So with the Jedi, when they passed away, they were able to live through the Force. Well, what if there's a dark side of the Force which tried to manifest itself into the real world in order to make itself grow? And that manifestation was, in fact, Palpatine. So how the manifestation would work would be a Jedi would fall to the dark side through temptation, and then they would get kind of like a dark side Force spirit just poking and prodding at them to explore deeper into the dark side. And eventually, as that dark Jedi grows darker in the Force, he's able to conjure up an avatar that we will call Palpatine, and he ends up becoming physical within our world. And from there, he just starts to corrupt other people to fuel his existence in this plane. So if the dark Jedi that initially conjured him dies, he just kind of parasites off of another dark Jedi or fallen Jedi. So you could have him essentially live throughout all of time as being this ultimate Sith Lord who's really a manifestation of the dark side of the Force, become physical. So Darth Maul is who is he's manifesting through first, and then he starts training, Count Dooku, and then when Darth Maul dies, he just kind of goes parasites off of Count Dooku, and then when Anakin kills Count Dooku, that's his journey towards the dark side. So he just parasites off of Anakin, and Anakin's there throughout the entire rest of the series. And the whole goal was that if Luke kills Vader, Palpatine parasites off of Luke, and there you go. But because he didn't, you have him kill Palpatine, so he vanishes. He's no longer made physical. Anakin has his redemption arc. Everything happens, and then you have Kylo Ren, who ends up going to the dark side and reconjures Palpatine back into existence again through no fault of or betrayal of Luke's skull or anything else. It's just any Jedi that ends up tempting to the dark side opens up the means for the dark side to manifest Palpatine once again and do the cycle over and over again. And it's like parasitic, and it can happen any time. It could happen 1,000 years after the original Star Wars trilogy. You can still have Palpatine back, because that's just kind of this. It's this temptation that every Jedi must learn the discipline to avoid.
Right, and it just takes the name of Palpatine, but it's something even deeper.
Something else. It's something else and deeper. Because that way, it's like there's a reason why the Jedi are the Jedi. Because if we were to stray, we would create this dark side entity so powerful that it could wipe all of us out.
Wow.
and that's how you have that ultimate, the temptation and then the curse, and you just completely make Palpatine essentially an allegory to like the devil. Like you can
I
never
was going to say it's very like demonic because in Christianity in the Bible, demons and angels are two different beings essentially, right? Where angels can manifest in the physical realm. In our physical realm, they have the ability to manifest, and demons cannot. They have to inhabit something.
They have to parasite.
Corrupt and possess.
Well, in my way, we would refer to them as black entities.
Right.
And demon itself is even a corrupted word.
Entities that travel in the white light, and you got entities that travel in the black light. Balance between good and bad.
But they can't self-manifest on their own. They need something to, like a parasite, to inhabit. To
you have to cross a line of ethics in some way in order for them to taste the blood in the water, as it were, and then hunt you down and corrupt you further. And if you resist, you're a Jedi, and if you fail to resist, you're a Sith Lord.
Script Doctor, I'm kind of starting to get the impression that you work in a creative field. And another thing, can we pause just for a moment? I know we bring up, when Dooku is brought up, we never give credit to the fact that Darth Tyrannus is a badass name. I've always thought that.
It's so badass, the High Council thinks that it means real dinosaurs exist.
Surprise, diverse dinosaurs with actual endings.
Yes. He was the master of Makashi, Form 2 of lightsaber combat.
Was he really?
Prove my geek nerd cred.
Dude,
that was right there. That was good. He was definitely, they did not show him as powerful as he really was in the prequel trilogy.
Nor in the Clone Wars
they touched on it a little bit more.
Get in the Clone Wars series.
He looks a lot more menacing in the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of lore building. There was a lot of lore building, in the Clone Wars and in the books around that time.
Yeah.
Something
that Rian Johnson doesn't give a hoot about.
What? Get the fuck out of here. Are you talking about my favorite writer and director?
Yeah, are we done with this article? Did we get what we needed?
Is
we just blah blah blah, and we got this other link?
Oh, the Fandom shop.
I put something in the private chat that TT sent me, but I don't know if I can share it. It's actually
our boy. Hold on,
dude. It's it's hilarious. It's his red flags about movies. And I can tell you,
I put the Twitter link in the private. So
I don't know how to get the picture up.
I got it.
Let me see.
I got it. Let me do something since I came in late and wrong. Here was TT. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So TT's top 10 movie red flags. Number 10. People are saying they had to watch it more than once to understand the basic plot. Number 9, people are saying you just have to turn off your brain and enjoy it. Number 8, nobody is talking about the story. They talk about the special effects, atmosphere, and music. I do that. When I talk about The Last Jedi, the music and the cinematography.
Because that's the only thing you can really say about it.
Yeah,
pretty much.
John Williams, great job. I mean, always knocks it out. Number 7, no trailer released, or the trailer is released very close to the release date. Number 6, the trailer and marketing in general tell you nothing about the story. Number 5, reports of studio executive interference, like review embargoes on critics until the release. Number 4, actors and directors are distancing themselves from the movie before it is released. Number 3, if people say, if you read the books, it makes sense. That, no doubt.
So true.
Number 2, reports of directors, actors leaving the film before it starts shooting or as it is being made. And number 1, the release date has been pushed back by months more than 3 times.
So that last movie, I think it's 9, or is it even? I think it's 9 of those. Maybe not the last one, but
it was pushed back though, wasn't it? Wasn't it originally supposed to be in May, and then they pushed it back to December?
No, they always they moved it from the traditional release date in May to December.
Their plan was
they
to do
wanted
December,
the Christmas
May.
revenue.
They're just planning to do the main trilogy for December for the holidays, and then the alternating movies like the Solo story and all that stuff for the May traditional Star Wars release. And that did not end up working well. That second time they did it with Solo. Because
Solo lost money.
Solo lost a lot of money. So did the Rise of Skywalker also lost a lot of money too.
Yeah.
What? That's not what they're saying. They said it made over $1 billion, and it's a
yeah. But when you spend $700 million to make it, and you have to make 3 times the budget back in order before you see a profit.
Well, if you read the book, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you just stop thinking about it,
to see
you
the
just turn
accounting
your
books.
brain off.
I mean, literally, I have not seen this list from him before, and most of those, like, people have said to me or I have done. So, like, nobody's talking about the story, but we all talked about how I thought John Williams did a masterful job in this last movie.
Yeah.
Something, I mean, it touched me in a way like I can't explain. Like, it was Star Wars, but it was a little bit different. It was beautiful. Like, if I closed my eyes during the trailers, I felt Star Wars. It wasn't until I opened my eyes and saw that shit.
Death Star, did the music touch you?
It molested me.
Can you show us on the doll?
I can show you on
My God. Oh, so much news. Let's go into Rian Johnson. That was
It's in the fucking thing. Go ahead and pull it up.
In the fucking thing.
What thing? I can't see it.
I don't know.
That Wanga.
You were so far up our things, it was uncomfortable.
Oh, I don't have it. It was you guys.
Yeah,
shared
it's in the council chat. Whoever wants to pull it up, and I think Stephen, we need your buttery voice to actually read this.
What is he doing with butter and pulling it out?
I don't know. He said something about.
There you go.
Butter.
There he is. There he is. Look at that happy guy.
There's our
happy
favorite
guy.
Our favorite Charlie Brown-looking motherfucker.
I got a cartoon image whining. We better.
Yeah.
Stop picking on me, guys.
I'll show you. Star Wars: The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson admits he didn't care about Star Wars canon and history. I couldn't have told.
Can everybody show our shocked faces?
Mine's so shocked you can't see my eyes, nose, or mouth.
I'm so shocked I turned into Padme.
There you go.
Said that's it. I'm out of here.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson admitted that he really didn't care about Star Wars canon in a recent interview discussing Johnson's Knives Out film, which I have not seen.
Can we play this or no? Are we going to get
no.
Are we monetized?
No.
Damn right we're not.
This is my channel. I only have 175 viewers. Come on.
All right, I see this useless asshole's mouth moving, but
yeah. Hold on a sec. This is like a.
Did you share audio?
I have my mic up again, so you can't hear it.
Thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk about Knives Out.
Natalie.
If there's anybody who happens
Terrible
to
at trying to form a question.
give it a quick look.
No, wait. This is 13. This is the whole interview. Do you guys know
we
where?
gotta find the clip.
Yeah, I don't know where the
God.
actual.
No, I don't know.
I don't want to watch 13 minutes of him blabbering.
I don't know
on
if I can
about
make it through 30 seconds.
Yeah, just
I don't want her to out, and I don't want to look at this guy. Like, we should just read the fucking the italics. Do you see that?
You know what I'll do? I'll interpret what he's saying right here.
You should.
They were
An
mean
interpretive
to me,
dance.
Mom, they were mean, so I gave it to him good. I screwed up.
Oh shit!
Good. I screwed it up real good. I took their Star Wars. I got from behind and I went like this.
Script Dr. Aren't you glad you came?
Oh, if have not yet. Spork still got to keep doing that a few more times.
Oh, I just came.
Well, now,
just
another news.
Maintain the dirty level of.
I know.
It literally. I really feel like he was that guy. Like he was one of those kids that I don't know, just never had any real friends, never enjoyed anything, and just wanted to be this artsy art house director. Like, I'm going to be cool in college. I'm going to reinvent myself. And somehow he made it, and people fell for his shit. And he's not look, I didn't really like Rupert. I didn't see anything else from him. I guess Knives Out was good. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is if you're a director and you don't have respect for what came before you, then you are no director I want to see.
Well, look at
There you
this
go.
guy's face. He's like,
I think I found the parties.
You're writing, let's say you're creating your own universe. You said you don't think about actors. You're starting kind of something from scratch. How is that approach versus something where you have a pre-existing universe? Like if you're writing characters like for Star Wars, you have this universe. You have characters that everybody knows, and then now you are doing something from scratch. Like, do you find your approach is different for that?
No, not at all. Because I don't I don't know. I don't really think in terms of universes, like or in terms of creating worlds or whatever. That's not that interesting to me. But the only thing that's interested in me is story, and the story specific to like whether you're writing a Star Wars film or that's part of a 3-movie trilogy or quote unquote original thing like Knives Out. You're still telling a story that's new to the thing that you're doing, that it has to work within the context of that movie. What? So to me, the notion of what's the entire galaxy or world that you're creating or something, I can't imagine getting excited about creating that. To me, what I'm excited about is creating a 2-hour-long experience for an audience to have in a theater. And that means how they engage moment to moment with the story and the characters that are on the screen. And that does.
That was basically the gist of
So
it.
he doesn't. You're building. Oh,
he doesn't care.
Yes,
Somebody
he
go ahead.
separates story. He compartmentalizes story and world building, even though they beget each other.
Yes,
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you can't just focus on one story isolated within that movie, the characters and the plot of that movie alone, and not when you have something like Star Wars that has 40 freaking years of history. You can't just write a story that focuses on that without regarding or even caring about the overall universe that it's set into and trying to relate everything to what's come before. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work in his manner, because what he does is he takes existing characters from that universe and plays around with them. You can create a Star Wars story completely separate of this with brand new characters, new worlds, new species, and have it be its own thing that contributes to the legacy. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But the method that Ryan used was basically like the guy who decides, I can't get friends the normal way, but if I'm an artist, if I'm a director, if I can facilitate other people's means to achieve their own goals, then that will allow me to have human interaction. And that's what Ryan is. He's a bridge to better things for people that are desperate, especially in the creative arts world. And there are lots of us that are desperate. So he got lucky with Brick. He then just started directing some Breaking Bad episodes and other TV episodes. Then he did Looper, which was not that great. And then he did this guy, The Last Jedi, which all you can say for it is that technically good movie, but a very lazy script. Doesn't further any of the characters at all. In fact, he you ask any Disney LucasFilm fan, why was Rey the one that went to see Luke? And they say, oh, well, she had to train to become a Jedi. And I'm like, no, she went there just to pick up Luke because Leia's goal was to bring Luke into the fight that they're doing. She had the map, and Leia sent her to bring Luke back. Exactly, which was JJ's decision to do that. I think it's stupid. I think Leia should have been the one to hand the lightsaber to Luke, because there you compel those two to actually hash out why Luke's been gone for however many years. If you bring a stranger in there, he doesn't have to say anything. And it's like, well, you just made it easy for Luke to not have to reveal anything, and you never, ever make anything easy for your heroes.
You also confront what had happened with Ben Solo. There has to be that talk. There has to be that flushing out. You can have flashbacks.
There has to be that
you
conflict.
just have a monologue. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we never had. We never got in any of the movies.
You didn't even get Leia and Ben in the scene together at all.
No. No.
How are we supposed to feel when she dies and Ben's reaction to that if they've never interacted?
Yeah. You know how you're supposed to feel is you buy the Rise of Skywalker novelization.
That's
you not only
immortal.
get that, but you get the cancellation of Reylo.
You know what I remember basically, back when Star Wars was real and we had real stories, well written.
Preach, Mayor.
It didn't need Gap fillers, and that's what they are. They're gap fillers because their writing sucks. They can't get past their own image of their self-worth in, ooh, who can I signify today? What minority can I project in this? When that's not necessary. Write good characters. You can write good characters. Mercedes Lackey, she writes good characters no matter whether they're gay, whether they're a lesbian. Doesn't matter. The story matters.
Well,
now, the EU stood by itself.
Can I address a very, very important point?
I'm about to sum it up. Basically, the fucking writing sucks. Straight up. It sucks.
All right.
And they have to use a gap filler to fill the gaps, and that's not good writing.
And Bear knows all about filling gaps. Sorry, Immortal.
Isn't it very, very, very Earthicist of us to assume that every planet has a Asia, every planet has an Africa, every planet has a South America, every star, every spectrum has to have the same fucking races and species that we do.
And I'm tired of there only being 2 genders. Can we get some more genders in Star Wars?
What the fuck?
It's very limited.
Why not? Let's get some more genders in Star Wars.
We go back to Stephen. There's an example of what we used, what story writers used from within our own cultures here on planet Earth. You take the Klingons. Well, you take warriors from Scotland, you take the kingdom from Egypt, combine them, and you got one hell of a freaking warrior.
And Japan.
And Japan, too.
Yeah, there was a lot of Japanese influence, samurai influence in the creation of the Klingons.
So basically, those were the flavors that I seen in the Klingons. You got Japan, you got Egypt, and you got Scottish warriors. Blend that all together, and you got Klingons.
See, I like Bear. He looks like a native, but he's a Celt.
You do something. Well, I'm both, actually.
I know.
And so basically, with basically, you take Romulans, and you take Vulcans. They're the same species. They split off. One was adventurers, and they wanted to go places. Sure. And Vulcans wanted to stay closer to home. Vulcans remind me of Native American culture in some ways, and also reminds me of Buddhists in some ways.
Sure.
And so these are the little things that creators and writers put in Star Trek, and similar things with George Lucas when he wrote Star Wars with his influences. And you see, that's because it's a love for it. What they're doing, they don't love it. That's not love, man.
And
if you love something, you have the director saying he does not care about the world it's set in or the universe. That's not, where his passion is. I mean, that's a problem. You can't come out and say you don't care about that. That's true. It just proves that he doesn't really love Star Wars.
Going back real
quick, it also proves he doesn't like teamwork.
Yeah,
or teamwork.
What's going back, Stephen?
To the point about the books. Some of the older, like there was a very old EU that was kind of remade around 89, I think, around 89, 90. It was a backlash to it, but it was very small or contained before a new EU was written. And there was complications, in the original expanded universe, I guess you'd call it. And then that's why they kind of remade it into the one we got all those great books out of the 90s and the 2000s for. But those books, when they were writing off of the movies, they embellished upon the stories. They told you how Luke built his new lightsaber. They explained everything. And so did the games, too, to a large extent. And the current way that they're using the books in their new expanded universe is to fill in all of the plot holes to fix the films, whereas the older books accentuated and expanded upon the movies. Right. So when if you happen to read those books, you go back, watch the original movies, and they worked in tandem. You didn't need to read the books to watch to read the books to watch to enjoy those movies. It enriched it, right? Yeah. And now we're being told that we have to buy this and buy that. It's a marketing scheme. First off, it's born out of ineptitude. or uncaring. And it's hard. I try to sometimes look at this from the most rational viewpoint I can, as to why these movies are so incoherent. They're not seen together properly. And I honestly believe that the fix for it being the books that they're putting out is kind of a marketing scheme in itself. Okay, well, if they want to know more, or if they want to understand this, then we'll just make them read this. And I just, that's the most positive spin that I can put on that.
Well, can I ask you this, Stephen? Okay, you were one of the first people, and this is way back when you and the Unmentionable were on G&G, where you talked about social engineering. And are they, in your opinion, are they trying to tell us how to think about our beloved properties?
Well, it's in my opinion, they're using these properties, and people have been since Gamergate, since before Gamergate. They're using these properties in entertainment to create social engineering. It's the type of fandom engineering. If you don't, and it all stems from, I'm not going to get into politics too much, but it all stems from the extremism of the far left, which is, you are ostracized if you do not agree with the groupthink. And they take this and put it into games and into gaming culture and into the people creating them. And the journalists facilitate this. Same thing with Comicsgate. I mean, we just saw that one chick going off on the new writer for Batman because he doesn't agree with their groupthink, so now he has to be ostracized, deplatformed, and canceled. And this is just recent. This has been happening for years. It's the same thing with these large entertainment properties. You have people that are Script Doctor. Actually, could probably speak on this more, but he had explained to me that you have this inundation of scripts that have the same theme from these writers that are just coming out of schools that all have the same type of themes about with progressive elements in them. And so these companies, the production companies, think that this is what the people want. So this is why we get what we get. You also have people in Hollywood who have traditionally been left. And since the 2016 campaign have gotten really whipped up in a frenzy, these people want to push the anti-Trump, anti-conservative, anti-anybody that isn't us, ostracize anyone that they can who doesn't agree with their ideology. And so they're really willing to bring these types of stories on and promote them and push these kinds of narratives. It is a social engineering project, and it's for naught, really. It's so disingenuous because, yes, there are still problems even in Western countries where there are questions of equality between different types of peoples, different groups of peoples, and these things should be confronted and they should be, they should be dealt with. But it's not as crazy as these far leftists suppose that it is, and promote that it is. It's not. There are not lynch mobs in the street. There are not roving mobs of white nationalists running around. In most cases in today's society, a woman can get the same job as a man. Hey, if a woman wants to work on a construction site, more power to her. I see them. I work in construction. I see them all the time, working as electricians and stuff. And it's not this great grand misogynist society that is being pushed upon, or the idea of it being pushed upon us. But they're using these properties to condition people into believing that, to create these proxy wars within social groups. These false flags, these events these things that don't exist. And so that's one of the reasons I'm Fandom Menace, Immortal. That's one of the main reasons why I am Fandom Menace, why I believe in the Fandom Menace. And anyone in TFM or outside TFM who believes in fighting this kind of rhetoric, because it's meant to destabilize. It's meant to destabilize us as a culture. And I find it disingenuous and it's in complete disregard for all of the achievements as a race that we have made in the last 100 years for social movements, and I hate it.
Well,
what Doc, your name was invoked, man. What are you noticing as the trends? Is this something that's viable? Does he have a point?
Well, it's not. It's definitely not viable. What I can say is that yes, there's a whole generation of young writers out there writing stories with a thematic agenda. There's a whole lot of story analysts who are also out of college that are passing up those types of scripts, and so then the people that make the decisions are being inadvertently manipulated into thinking that this is the market that they need to take advantage of. What I've been trying to do outside of my normal writing is sort of identify the line of when one particular side has gone too far. Because we already know that if the right goes too far, it results in the extermination of people.
Right.
When the left goes through too far, I would say we should recognize it when it's the extermination of voice. So both involve the silencing of a particular group. One does it on a very permanent basis, and the other one does it essentially like a living death. Like you're alive, but you can't say or do or achieve anything. So you're essentially dead, just occupying space. It's almost worse to a point, because if you have no voice, you have no ability to contribute. Then what's the point of living, right? So I think that's where you have to figure out what those lines are, so you can recognize it when it's on approach. And what's strange is that in some of the scripts that are out there, they're doing those types of things. They're trying to justify the silencing of someone because they are inept to articulate a counter argument that would persuade more people to their point of view. And that's why free speech is so important. And that's why both sides, when you go onto the extreme left or right, are very against free speech, because it challenges their authority. And it's a very dangerous thing to do. And our media is not just a reflection of our society, but it also tries to point us in a direction that the artists of our culture have always done, which is, like, take a look at Soviet Russia. All the artists that came out of there that managed to escape and depict imagery, it was all to try and liberate their people. And it was done so in a manner of just escaping to show the rest of the world, this is my expression of where I came from, where I struggled, where I got out. Please help. and it worked for a time when the 90s were the best decade internationally between the United States and Russia, because they were a free society. Mm-hmm. And then Putin changed all that.
Hey,
well said.
Basically with how our media is habitual and what is it? Habituate? They propagate constantly.
Well,
stuff
the media is the
outside
double-edged
of what
sword,
really
yeah.
news is. And
well, that's
what
the
happens
biggest
is
flaw.
they become emotional and connected with it, and that basically is not news.
Well, news used to be impartial.
Yes.
News used to be pretty impartial, and then you'd have your opinion commentators after the fact. Like Andy Rooney was an opinion commentator for 60 Minutes. Like he'd had his articles that he wrote objectively, but then he would talk for 10 minutes about why he thinks the flavor of Oreo should not change to something else for a while, and always be like an irreverent topic, nothing really huge.
Right.
But when I guess cable news started to become a thing, it started to become dependent on ratings and advertisers and generating views in order to have a brand. That's when the news became sensationalized far more than when it actually was. Everything is urgent, breaking, crazy, never before seen, never will happen again.
So much of it is clickbait. It's become clickbait.
Yeah, it was clickbait before clickbait.
I noticed it right around 9/11 when the fucking ticker tape.
That was a big event. That was probably the only event that actually justified the panic and the intrigue. But beforehand, there was the Gulf War in the early.
But everything
90s.
fucking utilized it, and then people like Piers Morgan comes out and is talking.
He was a tabloid journalist, and somehow because he has a British accent, he fooled almost all of America in the media world.
We should espouse British virtues because what?
Yes, and that goes into the issue at hand, which is that a lot of the people who contribute to our media, to our entertainment, grew up in those 2 decades, the 90s and the early aughts. That's where they became educated. One of the most tragic things I ever heard when I started getting working in Hollywood in 2004, 2005, was that the writers of The Simpsons at that time grew up watching The Simpsons. So they didn't. So their frame of reference. Yeah. Their frame of reference of The Simpsons or of stories for The Simpsons were other Simpsons stories, whereas the writers beforehand were literary reference. They were using Allan Poe, Arthur Ray Bradbury, like all these like legendary authors and storytellers, and Jonathan Swift and so forth, to generate comedy for their edgy cartoon sitcom. And you see after those first 10 seasons, the show really dramatically drops to a lesser quality of intelligence and humor and tongue-in-cheekness. It just became of itself. And then when Family Guy first originally launched, and I think its original depiction was far superior than what it is now, where it was making fun of the sitcom stories at the time, and now it's just, I don't know what it is now. But
I'm a super smart Stewie.
World dominating Stewie wants to kill his mom, all that stuff. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Instead, he's now this effeminate. Is he not? Baby.
Where'd that picture go? Because I was staring at it, going, "Those tits look really rock hard."
Well,
and then I was wondering, is that a dump coming out of the bottom of the pants?
if we're ready to go into that,
Okay.
Okay.
But that's just basically it. There is no challenge in the education or demand from the writers that we have to do better, because this is the weirdest hypocrisy of Hollywood, which is that Hollywood loves writers because they make the content, they generate the content that they end up producing and creating, but they praise and seek out them all the time. I get query letters like, hey, do you have anything in this vein or what have you? And I always respond back with, I can make whatever you want, just give me money, please. I'm desperate. and then by the time they actually get the ball rolling, it's okay, you're just a writer. Yeah, you can solve a problem for us, but there's nothing, but like, we know better because we've been making these things for decades and stuff. So things get changed, which is fine. I understand the compromise, but it's just the desperation when you have something fresh, hot, new. And then once it gets into production, it's that desperation, that reverence goes away, and it's now, okay, this is business. We got to start making this safe to secure the investment. And I understand the end part. I just don't understand the urgency with the demand for writers if they know they're going to end up in this situation anyways. It should be more of a give and take, a negotiation, as opposed to what the current attitude is, which is kiss the ass of the writer until we get the option and get the production and get the money, and then after that it's like whatever we do just to make sure we make that money back and then some. And it's a frustrating thing that's the model needs to be altered, not necessarily abandoned, but just altered so that there's a bit more of a relationship. And I think that's probably going to be one of the terms that's going to be addressed with the current talks of a WGA strike.
Another strike.
Real quick, I want to address the chat. Twisted Mind Collusion said, don't attack the Brits in general, please. I love my brothers and sisters across the pond. The first 4 Walton brothers that came across the pond to settle in the Philadelphia area of the United States came from the Isles. So I love my brothers and sisters over there. I really want to visit England. I want to see England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. I want to go see the whole
Bring an umbrella if you're going to Wales.
I like cloudy weather.
It's raining all the time.
I love that.
In general, just bring an umbrella if you're going to go to Great Britain.
No, I've always wanted to go there. I mean, of course, I want to see Stonehenge. I want to see some of the megaliths, but so don't worry about that, Twisted. I'm right there, brother. I ain't attacking nobody over there. That's where my forebears came from. All right, what's up with Iron Tits?
Well, talking about writing and how there's just a lack of creativity in writing, or at least a lack of hiring the right people. This is from a Star Wars comic that's come out. So this is Leia. She goes back in one of the new comics that came out. She goes back to Cloud City to figure out how to defrost Han. I guess this is between Empire and Return of the Jedi, and she gets by the
she
Imperial.
allows herself, or like somebody
she gets captured and gets encased in carbonite. I mean, it's they literally just rehashed the same freaking thing they did in Empire. They have her going back
better because she's a girl.
Why does it look like she has a sack?
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask
yeah,
that.
has a
Kinda
sack or
weird.
someone
That's
from
a
behind
sack.
is sticking her in the junk.
Very strange. Yeah, but I
I
mean,
wonder
this
if that
is
was
just
intentional.
lack of creativity and writing. And then Lando,
Is this
like her
indeed
and Lando
that
running around?
Kylo Ren? Is that Sack Kylo Ren?
Maybe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No, this is between. It's between what you said. It's between Empire and
And
Return,
Jedi,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but they kissed on the Falcon. How do you know they didn't do more?
That's true. They could have done
Well,
more.
isn't there like a year gap between Empire and Jedi?
There was
Yeah.
actually, I think it's more than a year, isn't it? More than a year.
I
thought it
think
was
it's
a couple.
only a year between Empire and Jedi.
Is it?
It's a couple years between A New Hope and Empire, but I
Mm,
think it's only a year between Empire and Jedi.
okay.
Yeah.
From what I remember, yeah. Now they had this great story called Shadows of the Empire in the EU,
With
I remember that.
Shizor, yeah.
and
Good
I mean,
story.
it was
Shizor.
a fantastic story.
Yeah.
It was different. It didn't. I mean, it fit perfectly within the two stories, but it didn't. It didn't rehash. Leia going back to Cloud City and then getting captured and encased in carbonite, and Lando's running around. I mean, the last time you see them in Empire, they're literally taking off for Tatooine. Luke says, "We'll meet you at the rendezvous point,"
Yep.
and Chewie and Lando go off. Well, apparently after that, they decide not to go off to Tatooine and head off with Leia on some, rehashing of Empire. It's just so stupid. The writing is so lazy.
So this is Disney canon.
Yeah, that's a Disney canon now.
Gotcha.
Because Shadows of the Empire is no longer canon, But I mean, it was a great story. It had Vader trying to struggle for power in favor of the Emperor with this guy who's
Yeah,
running
I
a black
love
market
that.
society. I mean,
Yeah.
it was such a cool story and different. It wasn't rehashing anything
Yeah. If you guys ever get a chance,
from Obi-Wan's novel. The books that he had in his. Go
if
ahead,
you've never had a chance, play Empire at War. They add characters from that era in there. Shizor's in there too.
Shizor's in there.
Yeah, just for one scene. Yeah. They got everything from Thrawn. They've got the Eye of Palpatine is in there. It's like there's really cool references to the old expanded universe in that game.
So
And
I'm
the
wondering,
monster-
Steven, what type of role do you have to get the Leia's boost sack? What type of damage does that does? Yeah, I mean, look at that. So
that's a pea head. That's
Yeah.
a PP head right there.
That's
And
very,
there's the
very-
back behind it.
this is
What did they do to
Futanari.
Leia?
This is Futanari.
Oh, oh Lord, that's messed
Yeah.
up.
No, and if you're like back and yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and look, one nut's bigger than the other, or is that like a penis fold?
well,
I don't
it's
know.
Natural.
I don't
it's
know.
natural, It's natural for one to hang lower. That's
But
what I
on
hear.
top of the other one, that's a twist right there. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Maybe she's cold.
She just got frozen in carbonite. Yeah, she's cold.
She just got frozen.
Yeah, her nuts got twisted. And they're shrinkage.
I mean,
she's got
she is,
shrinkage.
She's
Apparently,
in a lot of
she's-
pain there.
apparently she's a grower, not a shower.
Like it's not even very feminine. It's like
No, I mean look at the legs.
it's just a serious disjustice.
Yeah.
There's no
Serious
Leia.
She got
the,
mad.
That's a big schlong.
Those are fingers only Ricky Lake could enjoy.
God.
Oh, one person got it.
I remember when she was an actor, so.
Oh my God.
How old is that artwork?
This is
That's
new.
recent.
This
This
is
is
a new
like
comic
what
came
the last like week or so.
In a couple weeks, yeah.
That's
I think it was
disturbing.
last week.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just but I mean,
Titties
besides the
look tight,
fact the artwork looks, it's just lazy story. It's lazy writing. They're just rehashing. They're gonna send her to get encased in carbonite. It's like, what's the whole point of Han? I mean, that makes it separate. It makes Empire special. Han was the first human to be encased in carbonite. We didn't know if he was gonna survive, and all this. And now it's just they're going and rewriting history now. And now it's like, oh, well, of course Han's going to get off because Leia got encased in carbonite. She got out, so Han will.
So this happened before? This happened before Empire?
This happens between Empire and Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Okay.
remaking your childhood, Scott.
Yeah, that's
And,
fine.
and,
That's fine.
and they're giving Leia a dong.
Yeah.
So she gets encased, gets out, then goes rescues Han, gets him like
because
wouldn't
she
that
knows
be a
how to
part of-
do it.
It's
Yeah,
She
it-
knows how to
she's-
do it.
it just it lowers all. I mean, but she shouldn't have had to go to Bespin to figure out how to. Lando knows how to use the damn thing. He was the one who read the panel. He knows. I mean, it's just like defrosting any other goods. You know, it would be the same controls. Lando knows how to do this. You don't need to go.
I missed. I'm sorry because of this shitty Wi-Fi, and I really better get this fixed by tomorrow night's live stream. My halfway to pay live stream where I'm going to embarrass myself.
Who are you going to have on that live stream, Scott?
Well, I still don't want to say names because I'm scared people aren't going to show up. So we'll wait for the moment. But I'm really hoping those people do show up. I know that
is this Star Making Wars?
Yeah, we'll find out. My question is this, though. I missed the part. Why is she encased?
She goes to try to find a way to get Han out, to work the carbonite system. So she goes to find a way to get Han out. She goes back to Bespin. But the Imperials are still there, and they capture her and freeze her in carbonite.
And they did this because the black guy who knew how to run it, he wasn't able to. He wasn't smart enough. So they had to have a woman go. And go through the process. That
answers why she knew he'd be blind. If he's the first person ever to be in carbonite, Return of the Jedi, she says that made me sickness.
Carbonite hibernation.
Yeah,
because she
I'm
suffered.
Just trying to say this because it's horrible writing. Yeah, exactly. That answers the whole thing right there.
I mean, that's true. That's the only thing that makes sense out of this whole thing is that she didn't know about the hibernation.
Right. Even though that's the only way it ties it in. It's the only way it ties it in because I always wondered if he's the first person ever, how does she know what that is?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true.
Well, she got a dong out of it.
Yeah.
Well, after the original trilogy aired, there were a number of stories, especially in books and video games, where other characters in the Old Republic were frozen in carbonite. So. That's how they kind of retconned that as like a thing that they did in the Old Republic, which I thought was stupid personally. But
Scotty, Twisted's asking what time your show's going to be on tomorrow.
It's going to be 7 p.m. tomorrow night, Twisted. If I got to figure out how to make this Wi-Fi stronger, so again I don't embarrass myself. So 7 p.m. tomorrow night. There will be some special guests, some guys from the Fourth Wave jumping in and out, Script Doctor jumping in and out, but some other people that I've worked with that have given me a chance when I was a small channel on their channels. So I'm repaying the favor. Let them, jump on my celebrity.
If there's somebody I know, man, I kind of wish the Pegasus Actual wasn't tomorrow because if you know somebody that you can trust, that you can give the password for your stream. I mean, for your YouTube, then you could have them host it on your channel from their computer. That might help.
And then how do I get in?
Well,
I just go into the StreamYard. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it'll appear just there's two of you. It's just basically whoever you have help you, have them upload their icon. So that way,
yeah, blow their.
You can also, I believe, you can alter the name a little bit.
We'll talk about this after. This is good. Thank you, guys.
Good stuff.
You're welcome.
I really have a serious question. So, Script Doctor
on this show, a serious question.
I know. Script Doctor, if you were to write a dong reveal, would you pan down to this?
No, he didn't.
I would.
I don't usually put camera. You don't usually put camera movements in your script unless you plan on directing. So if I were to direct, yes, I definitely pan down for a dong reveal.
Right.
I would pan out like, what is this? I'm looking at. Oh my god, that's a dong, and it's on a chick.
We ask only
which isn't wrong nowadays.
And so
the way that's is anyone familiar with the movie Naked Gun 33 1/3?
Yeah.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Do the dong reveal similar to how Anna Nicole Smith's was in that.
Oh, the crying game.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Or like in Ace Ventura. She's a man. That was.
And she just tucks it behind. Yeah.
Yeah, she was ducking it too. The worst case of hemorrhoids ever.
Oh god.
I mean, look at this herpy.
Poor Leia. What are they doing to our girl? Poor Leia. I've been playing. Every now and again, I bust out this old game. I think it's from '91. It's Star Wars Rebellion. It's like DOS. I used to play it on DOS, and it has a whole ton of the old expanded universe characters. And I love using them. And and it breaks my heart to know that most of these characters they just wiped out. They just don't even bother with all the stories that they had, all the backgrounds. It's upsetting to me. And there's no going back. I don't think there's any going back at this point. Disney's not going to sell the property. And it really all comes down to Kathleen Kennedy. You need to get Kathleen Kennedy out of there. I mean, it's going to be used as marketing. I don't think that that's going to stop. I mean, the job of a corporation is to make money. Get that dong out of my face, man. And then,
put TT. I thought he was serious. Put the TT thing on.
I can't.
Oh, you're trying.
Hey, how did you put us on the right? That was
Fucking
different.
brand new at this.
Did you guys notice that we were on the right instead of the left?
Yeah. And Stephen, the only way that a dong can be in your face is if you have asked for it to be in your face.
I didn't ask for that one. Now,
all right.
Did you all talk about the Project Luminous writer? Who
throw up a link, man.
I don't know about this. I've heard about this yet.
God,
is that the older guy, the Jose
put it
older
in the
guy?
council thing, and I'll
let
I do
me
like the
find
one
it.
where the one person attacked the Back to the Future creator.
I didn't hear
Bob
about
Gale
that.
or Robert Zemeckis? Like which
Give me
creator
a
did they attack?
Hold on, I can't find it. What am I talking about?
You can't find shit. Just talk about it, Scott.
I thought I put it in the chat, our other chat, DM chat. I found it at least twice. I have 2 kids.
Well, just whoever share the screen and
I'm looking.
Yeah.
Somebody talk about Leia's dong. I don't know. Jesus Christ, what is wrong
Well,
with this world?
one thing I think is kind of creepy, especially from these Reylo fan supporters, is the introduction of a gratitude kiss, which seems like it would violate or at least tempt a Me Too reaction.
okay. So isn't that like a you're cute, fuck off? Or
I have
is there
no
something
idea.
more insidious about that dog?
Well, because what was actually shown in the movie was definitely too long to be like a peck on the lips.
Yeah, I thought I saw a tongue. Or
I kiss all my friends like that.
do you?
I would kiss you like that, Scott.
Well, Steven, we're going to see each other in a couple weeks. I'll show you.
All right.
We'll be best friends. I
Well,
can't go
it-
far.
That's the type of kiss
Yes.
where it looks like one person has their teeth like clenched and then the other one's like trying to poke their tongue through the teeth.
Yes, that's like the 7th grade spin the bottle. Oh my God, I got her. Like
Fellas,
Okay.
hey, let's. I wanted to talk about something real quick. It's
Very serious topic.
one of our brothers, Tommy. He's going with some problems with his internet provider not providing him the right.
Oh shit. Go ahead.
You're back, Bear.
You good?
Why was I taken out?
Because I don't understand this thing. I'm trying to give you like the. I'm trying to give you like the.
It's the little rectangle within our image, and that'll.
Okay, so let's move on until Bear gets back. I think you
So basically,
muted him or knocked. You didn't mute him. He knocked out. God, we're really good.
Tommy.
Well, you got that finally.
Yeah. But we don't have his face. So like, who has sappy music? Go ahead.
Tommy's going
talking?
through some shit right now.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about.
Oh,
Really.
there we
go
go. Bear, go for it.
I'm gonna drop his link in the chat.
Discuss
So
first, and then
basically, he's been receiving the wrong router from his internet provider, and so he can't upload videos. He can make them, but he can't upload them because the internet speeds is like crazy small, and because the router's messed up. And then he got the wrong router, and he's supposed to be getting his new router, and plus he's got some medical thing he's going through, and so he's kind of laid up a little bit. Nothing too serious, but go over to his channel and give his videos some playtime and all that. And let's keep him current and all that and help him out a little. Because you know what? He helps all of us out without question all the time. He helps us big time. So we should go over there and help him out if we can.
Absolutely.
He helps all of us out.
Yep.
No, he's always around. It's kind of creepy
the
how he's
hardest-
able to be everywhere at once.
Because, you know, I hadn't seen or heard from him, so I gave him a phone call and say, hey, what's going on and all that. And, you know, check out my friend, you know, because he's genuinely my friend. Just like all of you guys are.
Tommy,
And, so we take care of him.
and Tommy goes in everybody's chats. He mods for a whole host of people that you know we don't even like or don't like us. Like, and he people that he disagrees with. Like Tommy is unbiased. He works hard. He states his points, but he's always in everyone's chats. Sharing links, whether he agrees with the topic being spoken about or not. Tommy is the hardest working mod on YouTube. So get up there and support our boy Tommy.
I was going to say the same thing. I've seen him work 3 different chats at once. Literally, I jumped from like different chats, and Tommy's just he's moderating. I mean, like actually physically, like I thought he must have had 3 screens up. He just keeps jumping in between to help out. Like the dude he's fire, man. The guy is a good dude.
Maybe
And
Tommy
his lightsaber theory video is amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
mind. Thank you, Hail, brother. That's what I'm talking about. You know, we all have to support one another. We rise together.
Oh God, here. You know what? I can't find it, but I'm going to bring up something else. That our good friend John Talks just retweeted. And let me bring this bad boy up.
This, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we're good. We have like dead air all the time. It's awesome.
We got the internet
people are just
grinding.
concentrating. Yeah, people are concentrating.
So what's going on
And
with John Talks?
Well, the Force is working its mastery.
This is on.
I got
It's not just my screen doing this, right?
No. All your screens.
Mine's doing it too.
Okay, no, because before, like when I first came back, all I could hear was script and final. So they were talking to you guys, but I could not hear. You guys were all frozen. It was awesome. So anywho, let's see who's in the chat. Tyler's back. He had to make dinner, but he's back. Angela Straven, always supporting. Thank you. TT, supportive. Thank you. Twisted Mind, of course. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you.
Did we lose Steven? And we lost Steven.
We lost Steven.
We lost Steven.
So I'm not going to bring up the article, but I'll read something to you guys. This was something I confused it with a different article, of course. But there is
Enlarge the
this,
Scotty.
yeah, no, don't enlarge me. Don't touch anything. We're finally getting stuff moving. So I'm just going to read this real quick. You son of a bitches. It's from Boundings into Comic. Dungeons and Dragon artist Tess Fowler attacks Batman artist Sean Gordon Murphy after he announces Murphyverse imprinted at DC Comics. So really, all this guy's talking about, he did the White Knight, Batman White Knight, and he announced that he was going to start his own version of a mini White Knight verse, so a Murphyverse. It'll be done between new volumes of Batman White Knight. It'll be the Murphyverse. So he teased that, and she came back. But he also put the first rule is dead characters stay dead. Second rule is no inner monologues. The third rule, stuff comes out on time. And the fourth rule is the only best talent who puts customers, readers first. So he's not, going to bow down to diversity for diversity's sake. Following this announcement, Dungeons and Dragons artist Tess Fowler attacked Murphy and insinuated he's a bigot. Fowler wrote on Twitter, known Batman writer who supports bigots in a hate movement as well as supports that hate movement's apologists, has a new imprint at DC and is hiring ... bigots ? She added, I told you all effing 2007 dude was a problem, but he makes Batman comics. So Fowler would seemingly attempt to defend her insinuations that Murphy was a bigot by calling it a critique. She took to Twitter to write, I am so bored with nerds who anger panic anytime someone critiques something nerd related. Okay, I'm sorry, but that is not a critique. You called the guy a bigot. That is definitely not critique. She added, real life exists. The comic /game/Twitch shows /RPG, etc. you love. It's not real. And if the people making the thing you love are out there hurting others, your thing doesn't take priority. So, and she keeps going. Love what you love, nerds, by all means. But I'm bone tired of having to listen to a religious diatribe every time somebody even mildly critiques anything. She would double down her attack on him, claiming he was in a hate group while continuing to claim all she was doing was critiquing him. She wrote, the best way to prove the dude being criticized isn't part of a hate movement is for that hate movement's lackeys to try to swarm any and all critiques. Good work, trolls. So I guess people came back at her. Now I'm wondering what this hate group is, if she's talking about, I don't know, a hashtag, or
a certain hashtag that promotes selling good comics, you mean?
Right.
Well-written stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's the the comic version of the Fandom Menace, we could say.
Sure.
Murphy's Batman White Knight was one of the most popular ones. Let's just see. He responds. He did respond, but they don't put much more in here. They're just talking about how his circulation made money. He shipped the first circulation with 90,000 copies, and the last copy was still up in like the 600,000 or 60,000 range. So he really did a really good job for what comics do nowadays.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
What forced this attack on him? That's my question.
Real quick, did we hail the mascot of the fourth wave?
Tyler Mango?
Yes,
Hail.
he's in the chat. Hail,
Yes.
Tyler Mango. Mascot.
Yeah, while
Hail,
you
Tyler
disappeared, I already called him out. So thanks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we love Tyler though. Double hail.
So
Sorry, my
did
computer
this-
crapped out.
Did this Fowler woman insinuate that books can harm people? Because the only time a book can hurt you is if it gives you a paper cut.
Exactly. But I don't even think she's talking about what he writes, more that he's supported by groups on the internet that she doesn't agree with, that she considers bigots. So I know
Sounds
on
like
my
jealousy.
end, that's what me too. I mean, on my end, the very first Star Wars video I did was an Anas video supporting him right
Justice for
after
Anas.
Hey.
right, Justice for Anas. Right after the court ruling came back and the case was dropped. And I literally got attacked by Star Trek, Discovery fans that they just went at me. Like
They're
you
called
don't know shit.
Drekkies. Excuse you.
Yeah. But like you don't know shit, you're just, so a lot of things about my character, about who I am. I'm an ist, I'm an ism, without ever talking to me, without probably seeing anything, because this was an early video of mine. When you take a stance or you believe in, someone who takes a stance, they attack you. So they start calling you names. Like I always say at the end of my videos, they call you names because they know they can't win that war. You know what I mean? Like, well, they have a good thing. Well, guess what? You're a bigot. You're an ist. You're an ism. It's just the go-to virtual thing, I don't know. It's just the go-to thing nowadays. And people feel like if they say that, they can't be attacked back. Like, oh, he's a bigot. Like, you're you're putting that out there in the world, man. Like, how do you have proof this man is a bigot? You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't show any proof, but yet calls the man a bigot and then gets mad at people because all she was doing was critiquing him. That's not a critique.
It's funny that these people who espouse identity politics are the first to attack their opposition's identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, man, that's exactly it. And, you know, and the thing that I find the craziest is that we live in a generation that generations prior worked so hard to remove stigmas and labels. And now everybody is labeled. They want to be labeled a certain group instead of we're all one. We're all humans. We're all one species, which we were moving towards.
There's two sides to that, really, Scott. I mean, and one is the obvious, which is disingenuous people using these things to bludgeon others who don't think in the way that they feel is proper. And the other, I really feel, is it's almost like having these kinds of the racist, misogynist, the tropes of the old, of how we were and to where we've come to. It's like a security blanket to have those things around. Because you know who the enemy is. You know who you can point to and say that's a bad person, or what culture you can point to and say that's not how we should be. You know, it's much easier to destroy than to create.
Well, and that's and real quick, to me, that's an addiction type thing. Like in addiction, you learn that a lot of the times, and I'll put myself, when I was at my worst, I always pointed at somebody else that they were even worse than me to justify what I was doing. Like, oh, I'm not as bad as that person, you know? And that's what these people do that.
Dig that.
You know,
I mean, it's avoiding self-growth. I mean, and to that point, Scott, I mean, for the longest time in my life, I would point the finger at other people or other events that had happened in my life and use that as an excuse to why I hadn't achieved something or why I couldn't do something. And it wasn't until I, into my 30s that I began a real introspection, taking responsibility for my actions, for the things that I had done, really looking at, well, okay, this person did do this to me, but how did I react?
Exactly.
What was, what was the cause of these symptoms? And it's avoiding responsibility. I mean, are there racists out there? Yes. Are there misogynists and homophobes and yes, absolutely. Those people exist, but not in the mass quantities that are purported by those who use these things as a shield or as a bludgeon to promote their own ideology.
It too.
Right, they weaponize it.
I mean, you throw that out there in the ether, calling a man a bigot. I mean, to me, that's a slur of any type. If that man's not a bigot, you're trying to ruin his life by calling him that. You better have hard proof of this before you try to destroy. That's the problem with society today. We're behind keyboards and everyone is, super powered, instantaneously make decisions. Instead of sitting there and thinking about what they're about to do, they could destroy a man's life or a woman, somebody's life by doxing them, by putting these false accusations out there with no freaking proof. And it makes me sick.
It also takes away from causes that or events that really do need attention, from the actual, sexual assault situations that need those attention, or racist situations, or in a position where a woman is not being given, an equal voice because she is a woman. I mean, and there are people out there that do this. I mean, just recently I was privy to a conversation where a person actually said, this is about the great Tom King, all that thing that happened last week with Tom King and the ladies coming together and defending themselves, and other guys coming together and basically just defending their friends, not just because they were women, but they were just defending their friends. And I actually read someone write, this is what happens when you let women into a fandom. Like, that is exactly the type of misogyny. Right. That is a toxic male. That
we're trying to fight.
Exactly.
Because is the comic book writer Tom King?
No. I was a Twitter account.
That's who I thought too at first.
Yeah, no, it was a kerfuffle. I didn't really get that involved in it. I just kind of saw from the
because I'm blocked by almost every Tom King on Twitter because I
damn script. You're doing a good job. If you're getting blocked, you're doing a good job. But I mean, it's so those types of people, yeah, they're out there.
What's the hypocrisy? You know, that's like exactly what Antifa, in my opinion, has kind of become. You know, the anti-fascist movement has become the fascists. You know, I mean, they are. You know, they're the ones who are preventing free speech. They're the ones who are preventing. You know, it's what they say that they're trying to prevent and stop from happening. You know, they've done it. They've become that themselves.
Physical violence.
Well, it's also an ignorance and a lack of education and understanding of what irony is.
Absolutely.
I mean, my favorite thing that I saw in the last year on social media was that woman talking to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez about eating babies, which is which is pulling from Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal. And I felt like I was the only one on the internet that knew that this was satirical.
Right.
Because I knew what the reference was. Because AOC didn't know the reference. Like, she didn't call it out. She took it seriously. And I'm like, really? You're running for Congress. You're a congresswoman, and you have no education on like some of the classics.
Let's not get involved with her because I can go on forever.
That's true, but it just showcases how a lack of education in these people, these voices that are telling us how we should live.
Right.
It's just.
And then the media is at fault too, because they fall hook, line, and sinker into it. Because of course, like we talked about earlier, you know, they're in it for ratings, so they're promoting this stuff without even really fact checking.
Right.
You know, they want the ratings, the shock value of it all.
Well, the problem too is newspapers and old news stations had to have multiple sources that they can
publishing. Yeah.
Right. Nowadays, they go with the first source. You know, and if it's wrong, they print something on page 6 or say it on
page 9.
Right. Exactly.
Well, and they all have they have this hive mentality too. I mean, you guys have seen, you know, the Conan O'Brien videos that he's done where he shows news media outlets from all over the country, you know, different cities, and they all are saying verbatim the same exact thing, you know, for like a news story. They're all saying the same words.
Yes, sir. Yes,
right.
sir.
But that's what happens when you have 6 companies that own all the major media outlets in the country.
That's it too. And the problem is everybody. It's instant now. It used to be the news was at certain times. Now it's 24/7. And if you don't say it first, you know, it could be wrong. But at least let's just go with it. And if we have to apologize, we'll do it at 3 a.m. You know, next week. And it's this problem of people's ethics, you know, their morals. Like there's no longer news. Everybody takes a side and they bend it to that side, either to the left, to the right. And I think that's why people are coming to YouTube, because we're just being honest people. Yes, we have our own views on life, and we're not hiding that. We're not pretending. We're just who we are. And we point out what we think is, you know, hypocrisy and ridiculousness in our TVs and movies, but it bleeds into all aspects of our lives.
Speaking of hypocrisy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's interesting to me that we can be op-ed in our position, but still represent the mainstream thinking. But go ahead, sir.
So noted as a Star Wars expert, Jason Ward, who does the the Star Wars
Star Making Wars
podcast, recently said, newsflash, Star Wars history isn't real, it's made up. Okay, I'm sorry to let you know this, but Star Wars is not in fact a documentary. In fact, it isn't history at all. It's a bunch of trash we consume for fun and take way too seriously sometimes.
He does understand that we make up history all the time in our actions, right?
Right. You know what bothers me with this is one of their go-to things. It's not a real world. It's fantasy. It's fake. It's space wizards with laser swords. You know what? Then don't follow it and don't critique it, because for us, It is a world someone created that we get entertainment from. But to believe this world, we have to believe in the physics of it. We have to believe in its rules. And once you change those rules, that world no longer exists the way we know it. So that's why we get upset.
People
What
also
pisses me off.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, man. No, please.
People
go ahead.
also garner philosophical meaning from these modern mythologies. That's what they are. We know they're not real. They're stories that are being told that express different types of human emotion and events, how we deal with crisis, how what we do for friends. The philosophy involved in these franchises has a lot to do with why people are drawn to them.
Well, and I'll say this: imagine everybody, you had the power to move things with your mind, to move faster than people can perceive, and you can predict events ahead of time, and that you were in charge of the safety of the universe. Now imagine if you had that same power, but just wanted to conquer everything.
I don't know if I had that
There's a
power.
conflict.
If I had that power, I'd be out there
Okay.
catching bitches. I'm sorry, that's just me. I'd be dark side.
Well, here's
I'm
the
sorry.
other thing that's quite silly about this argument, which is they claim it's not a real world, it shouldn't be taken seriously, yet they want
It
so
makes
desperately,
billions of dollars.
they want so desperately a hollow attempt at representation in something that they consider not worthy of being treated so well, so revered. They're like, yeah,
Right.
we want
And in this,
And I'm like,
you're absolutely right. And what bothers me
kind of-
too, Script, I'm sorry, is just real quick. What bothers me too is then why even write about it if it means nothing to you? Like you have a podcast about Star Wars, so it must have meant something to you. So yes, we do sometimes take it a little more seriously than we probably should, but we all know it's not real history. It's not real world, but it's something that touched our soul in a way, most of us as young kids, that has carried on. I've learned a lot of great values from sci-fi and fantasy, and there's Star Trek and things like that where people have learned, diversity, not just for diversity's sake. They learned people can coexist together peacefully. I mean, look at what Martin Luther King said to the actress on Star Trek. She was
Michelle
important
Nichols,
because of
Michelle, yeah.
right. So you're telling me he thought it was that important, and this dude can come and say it means nothing? No, I'm sorry. It has actual positive effects on our society.
Or negative.
Or
Jason
negative,
Ward
exactly.
has an axe to grind because he either is getting his dick sucked or he has a duck he needs to sit.
No, I think it's because he is an activist today. That is one of his on his.
Do you think he's a bleeding heart, Stephen?
I think Jason Ward is going where the money is, and I think that he's using outrage for clicks, and that's really what it is. I mean, I think that a lot of these people are disingenuous. I think the people that are serious about this type of rhetoric wouldn't be taken seriously if we did not have social media.
yeah.
That's what
I think.
I mean,
that's
you can
pretty
replace
good point.
Star Wars with the Iliad or the Odyssey or
That's what I was
stories
going
of
to say.
Hercules.
You could,
And-
yeah. I mean, this is an
Sure.
insult not just to what you could use as a platform or what we've learned. I mean, this is just for literature and art in general. Like, if you're going to demean it, it's demeaning in a way to the authors who have created this, or filmmakers, scriptwriters who have created these worlds and taken such care in establishing a world that feels like it's real and it can be lived in. And this is insulting to them. I mean,
I've worked.
Go ahead.
Well, I've worked with other writers on their material. I get immersed in it. I feel it's my duty to respect their vision and the world that they've built. And so when I write for someone else, or I'm helping someone to write, that's what I do. I mean, I'm not looking to change it. I'm looking to continue and help that vision along. I'm not looking at it as trash. And that's what Jason Ward says. Apparently it's trash.
Or it's something that doesn't really matter because it's not
Right.
real. But that's all any literature, any fantasy novelist. I mean, it doesn't even have to be fantasy. It can extend to any kind of literature. You know,
No, you know what,
grapes
dude? You
of
make a
wrath.
valid point, though. 100 years, or 1,500 years from now, could these be masterpieces? Like, I'm sorry, if George R.R. Martin finishes his A Song of Ice and Fire, please God, please Lord Jesus, it could be considered a great work. Tolkien,
Tolkien.
will be read. Jason Ward will be forgotten years after his death, but Tolkien may live on forever. You know what I mean?
We still know the tale of
Go ahead,
Robin Hood,
Script.
and that's a 1,400-year-old story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but
this just goes to
nobody's
any-
sitting around going, the first Robin Hood was a pretty good fucking story, but like by the time it got to like part 4, part 5,
Well, in a way, though, I mean, the last couple Robin Hoods did suck.
Well, they
You
keep
know,
putting him in like the 12th century.
Kevin
and he's not.
Costner, but
during
like the one with
Crusades.
Dave Chappelle was pretty good.
Oh yeah, Man in Tights. That was a great one.
Men in Tights is great. I love Prince of Thieves. That's my favorite.
That's
Prince
with
of
Morgan
Thieves.
Freeman too, right? He's in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I would have liked Prince of Thieves if they didn't make my ancestors out to be crazy batshit murderers.
Well, Bear, what do you think? I heard you try to chime in.
What was the one with the Australian actor?
Oh, there's one with
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe?
Yeah,
Russell
Russell
Crowe.
Crowe. Yeah.
I like that one. It's because I like Russell Crowe, and there was a
Right.
couple actors in there that I liked, and
I
some
always
people
liked
said
those.
they didn't really like it. I liked it.
I didn't mind that one. I didn't even mind the one where, Arthur was a Roman. I didn't even mind that one. It's a different version of telling
I forgot
the
about
story.
that one. I like the actor in that one too.
Historically, if there really was Arthurian, some kind of Arthurian lore, he most likely would have been Roman trained.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a valid, like, that's why I liked it. I said, I could
Agreed.
see this, the thing is that this guy is taking lightly literature and the arts. And I think Script and Final had it right. To minimalize what these people have created is disrespectful and just downright just stupid.
Yeah, and imagine our world without the creative arts. No paintings, no literature, no plays, no entertainment. We'd
The Dark
kill
Ages, man.
ourselves.
Return to the Dark Ages.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that there's a natural human response to a repression where we're just like, fuck you, that's against our instincts. And now they're trying to tell us, no, this is how your stories go. This is how you should be.
Well, stories are also
Um,
instinctively too. The formula
Right.
that we teach each other, it's not because we're trying to constrain what storytelling is. It's because out of all the stories told, this is the formula that lasts the test of time.
Mhm.
And it's
hero's
part of who we are. It's how we can translate it across other languages and how it can be related to other people and other times. And it's so important to learn that inside out and backwards so that you can present it in new ways. It's kind of like, I equate it to like pulling off a bank heist. First, know every single law there is about what happens to a person who's caught if they rob a bank. Second, case the hell out of that bank to know all the patterns. And then if you do it right, no one's going to realize you just robbed a bank.
Oh, you've been thinking about this.
So what you're telling me, Script, is that in hundreds of years, people may still be talking about the redemption of Anakin Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi, but they're not going to be discussing whether or not the Reylo kiss was romantic?
Yes.
Hmm.
Actually, I would not be surprised if in 30 years people forgot about the Disney Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, Clive Owen. I
I
like that
think-
actor.
I kind of think in 30 years they're going to be
Answer
talking
and
about the
Twisted Mind
Palpatine
Collision.
saga.
Yeah,
Palpatine
so long as
saga.
if Disney doesn't keep on pushing that trilogy over and over and over again, and they'll never release special editions of it, so we can be thankful for that. Then yeah, people are gonna a whole generation of people are gonna forget about it. They'll find episodes 1 through 6, and they'll
McClunky.
like that, but they will not.
Look clunky.
They'll not.
Okay.
They'll not really find any sort of appeal to the Disney trilogy. Now, Disney is most likely going to remake that original trilogy, and they're not going to start with episode 4. They're going to do episode 1 because they like to have the build of the continuity and start from scratch. So you still got more years before they redo the original trilogy. They'll do that prequel trilogy first, mark my words.
I don't think without George's approval they can't though. When he sold
They
Star Wars
can't
to them,
technically
he had
do
it in his
much.
clause. They can't remake the original. They can't touch, edit, or remake the originals or the prequels without his like absolute.
George
authority.
isn't going to live
They
forever.
technically have the Disney Plus versions are technically slightly altered from
No,
the
but
originals.
those alterations are things that George had done before he sold it. He just had released versions of them, but like the McClunky, that was a line George put in there. They hadn't actually switched anything of those.
George did think of some dumb shit things. We have to admit that.
Oh no,
And
He wasn't perfect.
And it was the
Yes, he
people, it was the people around him. I mean, that's another example of a good creative team around you. Editors.
And you got people who will gladly teabag you. I mean, what else are you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, he had yes men around him. I mean, in the original trilogy, no, he didn't have all complete yes men. He had checks and balances. But in the prequel trilogy,
saving
and he
him.
had high
no
blood
shit.
pressure and like
Hail
he
the
had
wife.
Gary Kurtz who did more to
Yeah.
help him than anyone.
Yes, exactly.
He had Steven Spielberg put him in place a couple of times. I think the reason we got Return of the Jedi and it was not as terrible as it could have been is because Steven Spielberg was there for George Lucas when he was going through a really nasty divorce because Marcia cheated on George with a carpenter at Skywalker Ranch. So every time Lucas walks through Skywalker Ranch, he's seeing work done by the man that took his wife. So think about that on how that can affect a person's like.
Wait a minute.
He
Say that one
traded
more
in-
time. Who cheated on with his wife? Cheated on him with who?
With the carpenter that helped build
That's
Skywalker Ranch.
cold-blooded. That is cold-blooded.
And the reason she cheated on him was because Lucas was so worried about keeping Lucasfilm alive while production of Empire was going on that he just never spent any time with her. And when he did, he was frustrated and angry and was prone to outbursts and arguments.
And break up with them.
Yeah, it's because he was basically put in a position he didn't want to be in. He did not want to be responsible for hundreds of people's jobs. And that was because that ended up being what he was opposed to when he was starting out. It's like he didn't like all the no's and the decision making of the studio system because at that time he didn't understand the reason they're hesitant is because they have all these people's careers on the line. They make a bad decision, something fails, those jobs go, and then they may not come back again. That mentality still is kind of around now to this day in Hollywood, but not so much because some companies are way too big to have that happen. But at the time in the 60s and 70s, that wasn't the case. And then when Star Wars made it big and Lucas realized, holy crap, I've got Skywalker Sound, ILM, and Lucasfilm, 3 companies that I got to take care of, and all those employees, I got to make sure whatever I make next makes money so that they still have a job. And that kind of broke him. It turned him into the thing he hated, which is a businessman.
Final Death Star, why do you have Leia's package on your avatar?
I did that for you.
Oh my god. I didn't notice it until it got big.
Yeah. You can blow it up and make it the whole screen if you want.
No, that's cool. I'm sorry. I didn't mean script. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
No,
I'm suffering
fine.
from some PTSD right now.
Well, so did George Lucas for about 20 years. Yeah. Yeah, Spielberg was there for Lucas when he was going through his divorce. Lucas was there with Spielberg when Spielberg was going through his divorce before he married the blonde from Temple of Doom.
Right.
And those two guys,
Wait, Spielberg married the blonde from Temple of Doom?
Yeah.
Cheated on his wife with her.
Yeah.
She was hot.
They're still together. Together.
Yeah, they're still together.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Spielberg. Come on.
Yeah. And then in the 90s, Spielberg learned that his father wasn't the one that cheated on his mom. It was his mom that cheated on him, and that changed his entire worldview.
Wow.
Jesus.
Because Spielberg's early movies are all about the father that left, the abandonment of the father. And he kind of resented his dad for that until he found out, oh, wait, my mom was the crazy one in the relationship? And then that happened around the 90s, and that's when the tone of Spielberg's films started to change as well.
Damn, Script, you're better than Access Hollywood, bro. Keep going.
That's why, dude, I love having Script on, man. He's like, you may be the Fandom Menace historian, but he is Hollywood historian.
Well, I'm just recounting stories I found out and were told because one of my teachers was a writer for Maniac Mansion, which worked for Lucasfilm, so I heard all this type of stuff going to school.
Yeah.
afterwards. So it's pretty fascinating how creatives are very much as much of a mess as the rest of us. So that's why whenever I see people kind of overjoyed to meet a celebrity, it's like, oh, they're just like you, man. Like it's cool that they got more money and they got more reach for who they are personality wise, but they're not any more stable than the rest of us. Sometimes they're in worse cases. So
Yeah,
No, I agree with that, but I would replace. I would take their place with the money. Yeah, I would do it.
money plus
I would-
cocaine.
Maybe back in my day, maybe back in the day, but
no, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think the reason the money is so good is because an actor's lucky to get a second role again. That's pretty much what it is. So
it's crazy, man. You know, I sometimes sit back and wonder, like in this moment right now, is George Lucas sitting in a lazy boy, all quiet, and then all of a sudden just starts screaming obscenities. You know, like, fucking Kathleen Kennedy. You know, just like out of his mind, just like Tourette's version, because like his baby. Okay, so you even made it worse.
He sold his baby.
He sold the baby that destroyed his marriage that he held on to.
Yeah, I mean,
he sold it to white slavers.
In the end, that was George's decision.
He was manipulated. I think he was manipulated for years by KK. And,
like the devil in his ear, man. Like the devil in his ear.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt now. I mean, what's his name? Iger pretty much admitted it in his book.
Right. This is what I want to
say.
I've been saying this since the book came out. That's what they put in the book.
Right.
Imagine what he first wrote. And they were like, oh, dude, we got to edit some of this out. And he's like, what do you mean? It sounds great. You know, like, you know, it was worse than that. And
Scott, you're probably right. See, my theory, and I have nothing to back this up, but my theory is that Iger was talking to Lucas for years, trying to get him to pass on Star Wars to somebody, obviously himself. He ended up making friendships with Kathleen Kennedy, who was already inside with the relationship between Spielberg and Lucas. Yep. And I think over the years, Kennedy would slowly plant little seeds about, hey, since we're not making another Star Wars movie, maybe we should consider about its legacy. And the one buddy who I did have working at Lucasfilm for a while before he was fired during the Disney transition would say, like, yeah, nobody ever saw Kathleen Kennedy in the offices. They barely even knew she worked for the company. They would see her name every once in a while, but they never saw her around. And
that's right.
As soon as
she had to put in his ear, though, she also had to put in his letting him know she would support and keep his legacy going. You know what I mean? Like, because
she would suggest doing a new project or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And on top of that, the kids have Lucas's kids don't have any interest in telling Star Wars stories, so it's not going to be a legacy thing like Tolkien or Frank Herbert's family. Mm-hmm. So he had nothing to sort of leave it on. And Disney at the time was, a big family company, did family stuff, and they pushed a lot of independent films under other banners and whatnot, and so he felt it would be a good fit. And I mean, on the surface, I could see that too, until when I heard that they bought Marvel from Paramount, which I thought was the dumbest mistake Paramount could ever make.
Right.
And then as soon as they bought Marvel from Paramount, it was a year later they buy Star Wars. No, sorry, they buy Lucasfilm. Technically, Star Wars is owned under Lucasfilm. Disney owns Lucasfilm, but Star Wars is not really owned by Disney. It's a weird mess of how that's done. I think Tommy knows a bit more of it than I do, but essentially he sold it with the idea of it being in a good intention. And I think now, instead of cursing to the world, he's probably just whimpering like he just lost another relationship.
Yeah.
Look what TT wrote. And sadly, Kennedy did exactly what Lucas did not want to happen. Lucas wanted to save their jobs, and Kennedy shut down LucasArts. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
All the things that happened after he sold that, he must just be like, "What did I do?" And
Lucasfilm was a really disorganized company to begin with. Like the stories you most likely hear is that an art department for a book or a comic or something that was working with another publisher would be working at Lucasfilm, and George would come in and he would say an idea about a video game out loud. Right. And then he'd walk away, and then everybody in that office have to run across the compound to the video game development team and be like, hey, George Lucas said this, maybe we should probably do that, or else he's going to wonder why it's missing. and then they would have to scramble and get that in there and then call in a meeting. And because that's how disorganized it was, there weren't really department locations, and Lucas would just spout out ideas wherever he was in the building. There's this one point where they were making a game and he's playing with a Darth Maul figure and another character from the game. He's like, oh, they're best friends. And the game creators are like, well, they're like 100 years apart. And they tried to make it work into the game and it didn't work and ended up collapsing the whole game. And then they told Lucas, and Lucas was like, well, why didn't you make one of them a clone of the other so that you could have them together? And just smack themselves in the face like, we're stupid. But that's how Lucas worked.
You know what I hope? I hope that somewhere deep down in Lucas, somewhere deep down in him, is this feeling of, is Starbuck going to have to choke a bitch? That is what I'm hoping. That feeling, that's what I hope. But, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry, guys. I had to bring the Pegasus Actual podcast into this real quick because last week Starbuck had to choke a bitch, and it was funny. I'm right.
It was pretty funny, yeah.
Well, we're about ready to fucking get the final send-off. So why don't we go down the line? FinalDeathStar, what are you working on, man? What's going on?
I've got a video idea I'm going to work on, kind of on what we had talked about here. Some of the topics, just on the direction or lack of direction in Star Wars right now. Certain things that were said by certain people, and
Leia's balls are talking.
Yeah, yeah, that's one.
Leia's balls are spoken.
There's steam coming off of them and smoke.
Yeah, this might be a new fucking meme.
Hot, salty balls, frozen, hot,
frozen,
sorry,
but melting.
Yeah, it's just the package is killing me.
What's funny is somebody wanted George Lucas to create a YouTube channel, and YouTube tried to censor it in the chat.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if George would do that. He's not a very social kind of guy.
That would be neat, though. I gotta say that, CJ, that would be neat.
I want to see him get PewDiePie's editor.
Shit. Well, all right, Script Doctor. What's your next fucking thing coming up, man? What are you working on?
I'm working on my episode 6 review of Star Trek Picard. I put on 10 pounds in comfort food trying to get through this episode to write it. It's real. It's bad. I mean, it's not as bad as number 5, but it's empty and frustrating, and yeah, it's bad. But hopefully I'll get that out.
Does it mirror the quality of the calories that you're consuming?
I hope so. Because yeah, like if I've stopped eating the comfort food now just to try and push myself through it, because I will get a stretch mark. If I keep going. So
all right,
yeah,
Stephen Walton, what are you doing, sir? What's going on in your?
I'm doing live streams, man. I am working on getting. I am like a hair away from getting the first print run done for the Fandom Menace Volume 1, so I can begin shipping that out. When it does happen, I'm going to be doing a lot of work. I will update everybody as that happens. I'm getting the Fandom Menace Volume 2 together. I'm still waiting on 2 things. I'm still waiting on John Talks Forward and Jesse Milestone's chapter. But I'm going to send all that stuff off to John so that he can read the unedited manuscript, or as far as I've gotten, so he can write the forward for it. I am looking forward to that. I just released my review of episodes 5 and 6 Picard. It was painful to do. Had a special guest on that video. This guy you might know. He has this little channel called Sporking News Podcast, the fourth wave, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Saturdays on my channel, Wednesdays rotating. At Pegasus Actual Podcast tomorrow. I'm going to be heading over there to Supreme Heretics channel along with Script Doctor, Bear Nerd Fun, Brian the Gravedigger. We have a lot of fun over there. Hashtag FineBoxy. And other than that, we have Scott's stream tomorrow night. Looking forward to seeing that, being on that, and that's about all I got in my corner. My content's slowed down a lot, guys, and I apologize to anybody for that. I appreciate all your views. I appreciate your subscriptions. Appreciate you hanging in there with me. I just have a lot of things going on at the moment with real life and working on these books. So content's going to be a little slow.
Black people.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, and anybody who wants to go and paddle the Fandom Menace is behind. You can reach them at P.O. Box.
P.O. Box,
All right.
not Final Death Star's avatar.
All right, so Bear, Nerd Fun. What's going on? What's on your plate, man? What can you entice our viewers with?
Well, first off, I'd like to we went through one of John Trent's articles and his I'm gonna throw his channel in the chat there.
All right.
And show his channel some support because he makes sure we got some really juicy articles to use here and there for live streams and videos. And I just put his link in there. And show some support for him and show some support for Tommy and all these channels that I put there in the link. Because they're all you got the fellas here with the fourth wave that are in there as well. All our channels are in there.
Oh yeah, support Bounding into Comics. Glad you threw that.
And you know, and below down in the info, you'll find some juicy channels down there that we associate and we're friends with. And don't forget Data Racer and Ichibaka.
Juicy.
They help us out a lot.
Yeah, hail them.
Hail to them.
Hail Data
Of
Racer,
course,
Ichibaka.
you can find me at Bear Nerd Fun. If you do a search with that exclamation point, you'll find my channel on pretty much any search engine. Hail to the Fandom Menace.
Hail.
And yes, sir.
Back to you,
Sporking, because we could not contain his mouth any longer.
Yes.
Podcast. Mr.
Hey,
Scott.
I've been doing better. So yeah, you can find me where I'm at. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Tomorrow night is the Halfway to Pay celebration. Please come and support that at 7 p.m. Please, God, let my internet not do what it did tonight, because that would suck. And if you have any ideas for topics, people from the chat, you can DM me on Twitter, and I will read your topic and who sent it. So think of some good ones for some larger channels that have really good information. You know, maybe one that's like at 12 p.m. and one that talks and one that might be drunk and one that might have some mayhem. So think of those type of topics. Hint, hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
Yes. And I just like to thank you guys. I enjoy our Wednesday and Saturday nights. Script Doctor, you have become an unofficial fourth waiver, and we enjoy you. Anytime you want to stop by, man.
You're
Well,
a very
thanks. I'm
solid
honored to,
motherfucker.
be here.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to stream with you finally, Script Doctor.
Yeah, it's been long overdue.
I know, I agree.
And
also
you are talking
Saturday
to
night.
Leia's nuts.
Sorry. Yeah, nuts. Saturday night, I'll be on Mary Mayhem's shenanigans. Come and check me out there and talk about me in the chat so I seem cool and sexy
All right.
and hard.
Well,
I mean, compared to my avatar or Steven's avatar, who do you prefer?
Right. I want to be thought of as Final's avatar, just steamy, hot, frozen.
There you go.
Carbonite.
Yeah, that's right. Can't get him out of your mind.
All right, let's end this thing.
Poor script
And
for corrupting
from the holder of Savage Spirituality, from the future minister of Whiskey Minnesota, I bid you all adieu.